where we've got an extremely important baseball game for you tonight. A couple of teams with October aspirations colliding here at Comerica Park with the visiting Giants looking for a sweep. The Giants have won the first two over Miguel Cabrera's Tigers. The Tigers right now on the outside looking in the American League playoff picture, but they're still within striking distance. The Giants are hot. They've won 9 of 11, and they're right now in a playoff position with 3 weeks left to go in the regular season. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, presented by Taco Bell. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Detroit. Dan Schulman, John Kruk, glad you're with us. Buster Olney will join us momentarily. The Giants got off to a great start this year. Then they didn't play very well through the middle of the summer, but now they're hot again. They've won 9 of their last 11. They're scoring more runs than any team in baseball recently, and they are currently 2.5 back of the Dodgers. The Dodgers beat Arizona today, but the Giants are in an excellent position to at least get a wild card if they can play reasonably well over the last 3 weeks of the season. And one of the reasons they're playing so well is Buster Posey's hitting better than anybody in baseball.
Well, without question, anyone better in baseball. And you see what he's done the last 15 games. Over 500, 7 homers, 21 RBIs. And it wasn't a physical change. It was a mental change that are starting to produce these numbers. He decided to start swinging earlier in the count, not letting the pitchers get ahead, where he has to hit from behind, jumping them early, and the power's there, Dan. If he continues, Giants are going to get deep into the postseason.
For the Tigers, a team that just about everybody thought before the season and after the David Price deal were a shoo-in to win the American League Central, it hasn't quite worked out that way. Kansas City won again today. Bad news for the Tigers. Good news, though, Seattle lost today, but the Tigers still trying to chase somebody down in either the division race or the wild card race just to get into the playoffs. Miguel Cabrera's playing on a bad ankle, but you wouldn't know it by the results over the last week.
Yeah, and if Miguel Cabrera can play like he has the last 6 games, he's going to give the Detroit Tigers a great opportunity to get in the postseason. If he doesn't, to me, they can't get in. I don't care how good Victor Martinez is. They need Miguel Cabrera to be the guy that has the last 6 games. 4 homers, 2 doubles, hitting 500. If he's that guy, they're in.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Victor Martinez, because as Buster's going to tell us, he has turned into, over his entire career, and especially this year, Buster, he's had one of the best years of anybody in baseball this season.
There's no question about it. With all due respect to Miguel Cabrera, to Mike Trout, Victor Martinez has arguably been the best hitter in the American League in 2014 after hitting .350 in August, .524 in the first week of September, overall hitting .335 and a career-high 30 homers. Think about this. When you talk about summing up, squaring up a ball well, he's broken 3 bats this entire season. Dan, back to you.
All right, Buster, thank you. Tim Hudson is on the mound for the Giants tonight, 9-9 on the season, but deserves much better than that. One of the game's great veteran pitchers, and another guy who's hot, Hunter Pence, trying to lead the Giants to a sweep here in Detroit. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is presented by the new Dollar Cravings menu at Taco Bell, Live Mas, and in part by Chevrolet, find new roads. And the makers of One A Day Men's, the official multivitamin of MLB, specially formulated for men.
Much on the line.
You can't pick and choose who the hero is going to be in baseball. Every man gets his turn. Every pitch could be the one that turns the season around. It's gonna happen for somebody, and it's gonna happen every night of the playoff push.
Down the line, way back there. Goodbye.
Tigers, Giants, in the hunt for October on ESPN.
And welcome back to Detroit. Sunday Night Baseball coming your way from Comerica Park. The San Francisco Giants and the Detroit Tigers. Bruce Bochy, who has managed the Giants to 2 World Series championships, puts this lineup out on the field tonight. The Giants lineup, of course, is brought to you by Taco Bell. And since the All-Star break, the highest scoring team in the National League, led by Pagan and Posey and Pence and Panda. Everybody is hot, it seems, for the Giants as they get their first look at rookie left-hander Kyle Lobstein, making his 4th Major League appearance, his 3rd start. This is Anibal Sanchez's spot. Sanchez is on the DL with a sore shoulder.
Yeah, Lobstein's first start, no strikeouts. His last start, 10 strikeouts. So, what are we going to get in between here? Who knows? But, Brad Ausmus told us he's trying to put his best defensive team out there because he is a pitch-to-contact guy.
Angel Pagan leads it off. And on a beautiful night here in Detroit, we're underway with a called strike, says Mark Wegner, the home plate umpire. Pagan missed 44 games with a back problem, and him coming back rookie is one of the reasons, not the only reason, obviously, but one of the reasons why the Giants have been a better offensive team the last few weeks.
Yeah, and along with Joe Panik, it just, like Bruce Bochy told us, it lengthens their lineup, and it puts Hunter Pence in a more RBI productive situation, hitting 4th or 5th in the lineup.
2 balls and a strike on Pagan. And the Giants, as you look at their record and their runs scored, both are significantly better with Pagan in the lineup than without him. And again, there are a number of factors at play here. As you mentioned, it allows Pence to move down in the lineup into more of a run-producing spot. Posey gets a little more protection as it's fouled back below us, 2-2. The Giants, if you go back into June, at one point had the best record in all of baseball. They were 43-21. But then because of some injuries and the hitting dried up, an extended run of mediocre baseball, to be quite frank. But now they appear to be putting it all back together again. And maybe we shouldn't be surprised. It is, after all, an even year, and they did that in 2010, and they did that in 2012.
Yeah, when you try to bring that up around the Giants manager and coaching staff, they seem to want to downplay that a little, but there's something to it. 2011, they weren't very good. 2013, they weren't very good, and now here they are back in the playoff hunt.
The bouncer to short, and Andrew Romine on to first, one down. Well, you mentioned him, Crucky. Joe Panik seems to have solved the second base issue that had been plaguing the Giants. The Scudero injury, they tried a number of different people, brought Dan Ugla in. That only lasted a few days, but Panik, a former first-round pick, as you can see, they tell us nothing flashy, not a lot of speed, average defense, but he puts the ball in play, line to line, and he's hitting over 300.
Yeah, and that's all you can ask for. And like Bruce Bochy said, he doesn't have a plus anything, but he's a smart player. He doesn't make mistakes. He's going to give you a good at-bat. He puts the ball in play and gives himself a chance.
And as you saw from the previous graphic, he has hit lefties very well, 18 for 54 this year. There's the sweeping slider from Lobstein. That's an important pitch for him, but he misses down and away, 1-1 on Panik. How about these numbers since the beginning of August for Panik? So he has been a big contributor in amongst Pagan and Posey and Pence and others. A lazy fly ball into center field. Don Kelly getting a start out there tonight for the Tigers. 2 down. Now Buster Posey. And Posey is on an unbelievable tear. Over his last 15 games, he's hitting over 500. 33 for 65, including 7 home runs. Looking like the guy who won the MVP a couple of years ago. And one of the reasons they tell us, Crucky, is he's been a lot more aggressive going after first pitches.
Yeah, it's unbelievable the way some hitters think. They think, well, we have to work deep counts, so that means we have to take pitches. Well, taking pitches, that means you're taking balls. You don't take strikes. And I think Buster Posey, over the second half of this season, but especially the last couple weeks, hitting over 500 for 15 games is a great thing. But, no coincidence that he's starting to be more aggressive in the strike zone.
There's the curveball from Lobstein that misses low, a ball and a strike. That's really his 4th pitch. He'll show that every now and again. Throws his fastball about half the time, but then his next 2 most important pitches are the slider and the changeup.
And he has to get the Giants hitters to swing and miss because he rarely throws those 2 called strikes.
That looked like a changeup taken up and away. 2 balls and a strike. The fastball will top out at about 90s. Not overpowering, but he has acquitted himself very well in his 3 major league appearances. Fastball runs inside, 3-1. His first major league start, which was his 2nd appearance, was against the Yankees, and he pitched well. 6 innings, only gave up 2 runs, but didn't strike out anybody. Then against the Indians in his last start, he struck out 10 in 5 1/3 as he issues a 2-out walk to Posey. Bringing up the dangerous Hunter Pence, who is right near the top of the leaderboard in a number of offensive categories in the National League, and is on a tear that, were it not for Posey, would be getting a lot more attention. He's on an 18-game hitting streak right now.
Very unorthodox, as I think anyone who's ever watched Hunter Pence play, but the energy, missed 5 innings all year, plays posts up every single game, and you might think that's a bad pitch for him to swing at. Not so much with Hunter Pence.
He can hit the ball out of the strike zone, it seems, almost as well as he can hit the ball in the strike zone. An aggressive hitter. Chokes up on the bat a lot. Has hit 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for the Giants this year, as he bounces one out to second, and that'll end the inning. A walk issued by Lobstein, nothing further. And it'll be the veteran Tim Hudson heading to the mound for the Giants to take on the Detroit Tigers when we come back. And Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell, is brought to you by Bayer Back and Body, the official pain reliever of MLB, and the Mazda CX-5, downright fun and confidence-inspiring on a curving road. Back at beautiful Comerica Park with Buster Olney, John Kruk, I'm Dan Schulman. This is Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, and here come the Tigers in their outstanding home white uniforms. As we get ready for the bottom of the first, a look at the lineup for Brad Ausmus's team tonight. Presented by Taco Bell, and the Tigers have put up some of the best offensive numbers in baseball on the season. Although they have been a bit of a roller coaster team, they can bludgeon you and then they can struggle. But with Miguel Cabrera hot over the last week, Victor Martinez hot all season, and J.D. Martinez, get to know that name, a former Houston Astro who's having a terrific year, providing a little bit of protection for the 3-4 guys.
Yeah, and what a fine J.D. Martinez was. Like you said, he wasn't even in spring training with the Detroit Tigers. Brad Ausmus told us in one of the minor league spring training games he had 3 home runs, had a 4th robbed, and that's when they said, you know what, maybe we have something here.
On the mound tonight for the Giants, 39-year-old right-hander Tim Hudson. 9-9 on the season despite an ERA of 3.08. A great whip, only 30 walks in 172 2/3 innings. The Giants are 17-10 in his start, so he has pitched better than his 9-9 record would suggest. Ian Kinsler will lead it off for Detroit, hitting .282 on the season. It'll be Kinsler, Torrey Hunter, and then Miguel Cabrera here in the bottom of the first. Quietly, Kinsler having a very productive year. You can see 3rd in the league in runs scored. He's hit 36 doubles, Crucky. He's stolen 15 bases. Of course, coming over from Texas in the Prince Fielder deal in the offseason.
Yeah, he went from one of the more hitter-friendly ballparks at the ballpark in Arlington to Comerica Park here. That's
not as hitter-friendly.
Not as fun.
Yeah. Imagine putting a Miguel Cabrera in a hitter-friendly ballpark. 2 hopper to 3rd. Kinsler retired, 1 down.
Well, that might not be fair to everyone else if they did that.
When you think about Cabrera, Giancarlo Stanton, 2 of the feared sluggers in baseball, they both hit in pitcher-friendly parks.
Yeah, and that's a tribute to both of those guys, not only for what they can do offensively with swinging the bat, but the size and strength of these 2 men.
Here's Torrey Hunter, the Tigers right fielder, hitting .275 with 15 home runs. And right over the outside edge with looked like a 2-seam fastball there by Hudson. A little run back on it back over the outside corner. Boy, 2 guys who have been around the game of baseball for a while in Tim Hudson and Torrey Hunter. And one big key for Hudson, as he always talks about, whether it's the sinker, whether it's the slider, which we just saw, whether it's the changeup, he's got to keep the ball down.
He has to keep the ball down. He has to get his defense working behind him, the infield defense, more so than the outfield. But that's where Detroit Tigers have to be very patient and lay off the low ball.
Got that one up just a bit. It's lined into center field, a base hit. So a base runner on for Miguel Cabrera, who for the 2nd time in less than a week yesterday had a 2-home run game.
Well, we talked about the ankle injury. That's just a pitch at Madison Bumgarner. I mean, most normal hitters, that's a great pitch. That one, little flat slider by Sergio Romo. But you talk about the ankle injury, especially his right ankle. That's the one you push off of for a right-handed hitter. But like I said, when you're that big and strong, sometimes you don't need that back leg too often.
And he takes a strike. Cabrera in his career has done a lot of damage against Hudson in terms of batting average. He is 12 for 28 against Hudson. That's a .429 average, but he has never hit a home run off Hudson. And again, a well-located pitch. Fastball, 2-seamer just down slightly below the knees.
Yeah, that's the pitch that Hudson needs. Get that ground ball, but you can see Miguel Cabrera. He's wearing looks like the plastic spikes that are far more comfortable than the metal spikes that you normally wear.
For a number of days, Cabrera DH'd. He DH'd through the whole Cleveland series to give the ankle a little bit of time to rest. That meant Victor Martinez had to play first, and Victor Martinez has a chronically sore knee. Ground ball to second. There's one, and there's two. The 16th double play induced by Tim Hudson on the season as he retires Cabrera and the Tigers here in the bottom of the first. We're here in Detroit, right across the street from Comerica Park at Ford Field tomorrow night. Monday Night Football as the Lions host the New York Giants, and they are getting ready as we speak for a big game and a big day of football news and action on ESPN tomorrow. The Giants and Lions in the first of two. It's that opening Monday of the season doubleheader that everybody loves so much. The second game, we'll see the Chargers taking on the Cardinals at 10:20 Eastern Time. And nice enough to join us in the booth and take some time out from his prep for tomorrow night's game as the voice of Monday Night Football, the play-by-play man, a good friend of mine, Mr. Mike Tirico.
Good to see you, Mr. Shulman. How are you, Crucky? Good to be here with you, pal.
Yeah.
I'm great.
How come you had to drop in a good friend of mine? Come on.
Because that's what he wrote on the card that he handed to me when I walked in.
Gotcha.
This is great for you. I mean, you're an Ann Arbor resident. You're a Tigers season ticket holder. You're doing a game across the street tomorrow night. Life's good.
Life is perfect.
Yeah.
If the Tigers can win this game and stay within 3 in the loss column of the Royals,
look at you.
Then I'll feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
And tomorrow's Lions game against the Giants, great Monday night game. My attention will be distracted right before because the Tigers and Royals are here.
That's right.
For the first of the 3 biggest games of the season.
But see, that's the thing. I mean, you work with a great analyst in John Gruden that'll keep you grounded like I try to do with this.
Oh, is that what you do?
No.
How's that working for you?
Not good. Go to my psychiatrist tomorrow in West Virginia to try to get straightened out.
Pablo Sandoval leading off the second for the Giants here in a scoreless game. And he hits the first pitch off the end of the bat to left field. Martinez there, one down. Mike, give us a quick scouting report on the New York Football Giants and the Detroit Lions.
New offenses for both teams. New offensive coordinators, changing systems for Eli Manning and for Matthew Stafford. So that'll be a big issue for both teams. They want to see if the preseason transfers to the regular season. 7-9, both teams have missed the playoffs the last 2 years.
There's probably a good chance that Matthew Stafford's probably going to go away from Megatron as much as he can. Try to work in the other receivers.
They'd like to spread it out.
Yeah, right.
But as you know, when the live pitch comes in, what do? You revert to your instincts.
Yep.
That's right. Here's Adam Duvall, the Giants' first baseman. Let's talk a little baseball.
Please.
You are a season ticket holder and a big Tigers fan, right?
Huge Tigers fan. Since we moved here in '99, we've had tickets. My son has been to every opening day in this ballpark since it opened in 2000. My daughter, every opening day since she's been alive, and it's a great ballpark, and this is a tremendous baseball city.
It is.
Dave Dombrowski has built here with this team. It has been really exciting, and that's why there's disappointment, because this looked like a guaranteed win the division, and now it's a panic to try to make it.
But why is it every year they when you about a month or two into the season you're thinking like, this team's going to run away with this division?
Yes.
And then but they keep everyone in and they make it difficult on themselves in September.
And this is bizarre. As you guys know the stats far better than I do, the runs have been there. Even though it doesn't feel like this offense has been as dominant as we thought it might be, the back end of the bullpen and the starting pitching just has not been what you'd expect. So through Cabrera's injury, Victor Martinez had an unbelievable season, but it just hasn't come together for one of those 15 out of 19 type stretches that they needed during the summer.
Have you ever called a baseball game?
I have never in my life.
Okay, so can we make a little deal there?
Sure.
Can the next time we have this Sunday Monday thing,
what would you like to do?
You call an inning and I call a series. Can we work that out?
You know, there are people in this city who can make that happen,
and we're not among them.
No, we're not. But I'm all for that.
Because I've never called football.
Yeah.
No, I've never called football.
I've never called baseball. Although I'll sit in the seats and my son will say, "Dad, just enough. We don't really need you talking about it." So which would be absolutely fine.
The gang in the truck wants to know if you want to do billboards going to break, just to make you feel like you've earned your keep today.
I just need to save it for tomorrow. Actually, yeah. 7. You looking at?
I got to do half of them anyway.
I understand.
There's Joaquin Arias.
I didn't realize this was so much work.
Trust me, that's my entertainment on Sunday night when you do billboards.
Oh, it's everybody's entertainment.
Because I can't read.
That's exactly right. That's the whole idea.
I'm not trying to trick you either. I can't read.
And a base hit into center field for Arias, who has been a hot hitter. He's now 14 for his last 28. It seems like everybody wearing a Giants uniform is hot right now. Now, Crucky and I are lucky. We got a little lift over from the hotel on the way to the ballpark before the game, which was nice. But we didn't get a lift in this. This is how Mr. Tirico gets to work. How about that?
Only on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday in the fall, and only in that town, the Monday Night Football bus.
And here's the best part. Like, nobody else gets off the bus.
That's exactly right.
It was just him on the big bus.
That's the best parking I've had at Comerica Park. 14 years a season ticket holder. Tonight topped it, so thank you.
Taxi pulling a little stretch for you, right?
That's exactly right.
Plus, you got to have comfort.
Geez, Mike, I knew you win.
Yeah, same here. We've known each other when we had hair.
That's right. That's how long ago it was. Here's Gregor Blanco. 2 outs and a man at first. No score here in the top of the second. Detroit fans' perspective, hunger for a championship because they've been so close. Pressure because they should be. Most people feel they should be winning the division, and they're not. What's the mood of a Tiger fan?
You hit it with the Tiger. It's that pressure, and you can almost sense it as the season has not been able to build, whether it's the starting pitching or the bullpen or anything of the sort. And there was a feel-good at the start of the year. They have been so good for so many years and in contention, as you said, Crucky. You're thinking, okay, here go the Tigers again. Something happens. They're thinking maybe this could be St. Louis of a few years ago. Just sneak in and then make the magic happen in October.
0-2 the count as Lobstein sets, and the pitch to Blanco misses for ball 1. Now, what baseball team did you grow up a fan of?
Mets. I grew up 5 minutes from Shea Stadium. I grew up a Mets fan, and I decided when they won in '86, and we put all the investment emotionally into that, I was available to another team.
You cashed in your check. You became a free agent.
That's right. So when we moved here, it was a piece of cake. My wife grew up going to games at Tiger Stadium.
It's your fault they haven't won another.
Probably.
That away, Mike.
I like to get blamed for things, John.
And a swing and a miss to get Blanco. Thank you so much for coming by, buddy.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great show tomorrow night.
Thank you. Finish up the season strong. Great seeing you. See you tomorrow night.
Mike Tirico, John Gruden. Monday Night Football tomorrow night right here in Detroit. Giants and Lions here on ESPN. To the bottom of the second. No score here in this one. Detroit, Dan Shulman, John Kruk, Buster Olney, Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. Our thanks again to our buddy Mike Tirico to dropping by. And looking forward to watching the Monday night football game tomorrow night, first of two. But Mike's got the early one between the Giants and the Lions. Now he's over on the radio side. I tell you, give this guy an inch. Typical broadcast.
Well, I guess no one watches football, so I can see why he wants to promote this.
He is an absolute pro. He and I have known each other about 20 years.
Yeah,
how long we've
got
been
that.
there. And,
I got that.
And he's a pro.
You made me feel like I should leave the booth and let you two
No.
have your little time together.
We go back a long way.
Good.
He called you Grump when he came in the booth. I can't figure
Was
that out.
that me he was talking to? Because I wasn't paying attention.
I think it was.
Oh, I didn't know if it was me or Peter.
Here's Victor Martinez leading off the second for the Tigers, and what an outstanding year Martinez has had, hitting .335. He leads the American League in on-base percentage. He is second in slugging. The 30 home runs are a career high. Bats from the left side against the right-hander Hudson. The shift is on. And he takes a strike over the inside edge, 2-1. Martinez has been intentionally walked 25 times this year. Now, this is not that type of situation, obviously, but that is the most in all of baseball. And he has reached base at better than a .500 clip over the last 25 games. A high fly ball into shallow left center field. And Martinez is retired, one down. Tim Hudson on the mound for the San Francisco Giants, a guy who turned down a one-year deal for a low amount of money from the Atlanta Braves and then signed a two-year deal for considerably more money with the San Francisco Giants, and a guy who in his days with Oakland, with Atlanta, San Francisco has been steady and reliable, and at times a lot better than that. He has never had a losing season in 17 years in the major leagues.
Yeah, you looked at we did in our meeting today some of the comparisons of other pitchers who were everyone considers great pitchers, but yeah, Tim Hudson's a guy. Like you said, he had to reinvent himself. He came up, he was a hard thrower, still had the sinker, but sinker in the low to mid 90s, and now it's 87, 88. Great movement, the slider, the changeup. He'll change speeds on his sinker, which is as you get older you have to figure these things out, and he's done it.
A slow curveball, or at least a slower breaking ball right there than his normal slider, and a swing and a miss from J.D. Martinez. This, by the way, is Hudson's 16th, not 17th, 16th season in the major leagues. He is 39 years of age, and with Lincecum not pitching well recently, he's in the bullpen now. Matt Cain out with elbow surgery. They really need what Hudson has been giving them. On a close play at first, but Martinez retired as two down. As you mentioned, Crucky, a little NCAA basketball style blind resume. Take a look at the numbers for these three pitchers. All very similar innings, all very similar wins and losses, all very similar ERAs over their careers. One of these obviously is Tim Hudson. Who are the other two? As we reveal, Roy Halladay and CC Sabathia. And the point being that Hudson's career numbers stack up right with a lot of the best pitchers of his generation, but he hasn't had the Cy Youngs. He hasn't had as much of the October glamour, I guess, in big moments as some of the other pitchers have. But in terms of wins and losses and ERA and strikeouts and innings, he's right there with some guys with some pretty impressive resumes. There's a base hit through the middle for Don Kelly.
Yeah, like you said, like CC Sabathia is trying to figure out before he got hurt. He's changed. CC used to be the high 90s, great fastball, great slider pitcher, and velocity now is down before his injury, and he's had to try to reinvent himself. Tim Hudson has done that, and done that seamlessly, really, because you don't really notice it because he's still effective. He never went through that stage where he was not a very good pitcher and had to figure something out. He's always been very consistent throughout his entire career. To me, he's like a Tom Glavine or Greg Maddux. Greg Maddux was a guy when he first came up, threw hard but straight, and then he figured out, if I make this thing sink and run a little bit and change speeds, we've got us a chance here to be successful, and that's what Tim Hudson's doing.
Don Kelly making the most of his opportunity to start a game tonight. Found a hole in the shift, picked up a base hit, and then on the first pitch he steals second.
Well, you got to love it. You can't stand pat. There's not a ton of power in the bottom part of the lineup for the Detroit Tigers, so you got to figure out a way to get yourself in scoring position.
The batter is Nick Castellanos, the Tiger third baseman, hitting .264 with 10 home runs. And a ground ball to short. Crawford has it. Inning over. End of 2 here in Detroit. As the Tigers fail to score, still no score in this game. On ESPN, presented by Taco Bell. No scores. We go to the third inning. The Giants and the Tigers. The Giants winning the first 2 games of the series. They are hot. The Tigers trying to make up some ground on somebody if they can in one of the 2 races. Kansas City is the team they're trying to chase down in the American League Central. And Seattle is the team they're trying to chase down right now in the wild card race. There's Brandon Crawford to take down and away ball 1. We'll have a Royals update for you momentarily. Crawford, the San Francisco shortstop, hitting .234, 8 home runs on the season. It has been a bit of a disappointing season from a Giants perspective for Crawford, as the bat has kind of leveled off, and Crucky's committed 20 errors as well.
Yeah, it's shocking. If you remember back to the postseason in 2012, he made every play. He made spectacular plays. He made the routine play. And you thought, maybe, and he hit pretty well in that postseason, and you thought maybe this is when he turns the corner, and it seems like he has regressed this year.
A lefty who has hit lefties better than righties this year by about 100 points. There's that slider from Lobstein, a very effective pitch for him against left-handed batters.
Yeah, it is, but you see the swing. He's not a power hitter, so why swing that hard? Put it in play, try to shoot the ball the other way. You think something would change eventually with Crawford.
And he gets him with another one. First out of the inning. Back to the studio for an update. Here's Carl Ravitch and Barry Larkin.
Number 16, Angel Pagano.
All right, guys, thank you. So Kansas City now 2.5 ahead of Detroit for top spot in the American League Central. And guess which two teams are playing one another beginning tomorrow? They still have 2 series left with one another. A pop-up off the bat of Pagan on the right side of the infield. Kinsler there, 2 down. Kansas City is here in Detroit for the first of 3 beginning tomorrow night. Wednesday night, you can see the game here on ESPN. Back on July the 24th, the Tigers seemed comfortable. They were up 7. A week later, they made the David Price deal. Just about everybody said, lock it up. Lock it up for the Tigers. And now look at what has changed over the last 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, and it's amazing because you thought, like you said, David Price is here now. You know, they have seemingly every pitcher they trot out there is a Cy Young winner, and it just hasn't worked out. Verlander's yet to get on track, and this late in the season he's been good and bad. David Price has been okay as a Detroit Tiger. He hasn't been great. I think losing Anibal Sanchez to me is a big story for this team because he was the ERA leader last year in the American League, and I think they missed that arm in the rotation.
And let's not forget about the Cleveland Indians, who they did lose 3 out of 4 here. And just when you're ready to count them out, they play the White Sox and they sweep them, winning 2-1, 3-1, and 2-0. Incredible pitching by the Indians for the most part over the last couple of months. That'll be an infield hit for Joe Panik. And the Indians are they're hanging around. And remember how well they finished the season last year, and they're playing with house money right now.
Yeah, and you don't think that the Kansas City Royals and the Detroit Tigers aren't aware of what the Cleveland Indians did down the stretch last year to get into the wild card? I mean, they pushed the Detroit Tigers to the very last day of the season.
So a 2-out base hit for Panik, and that'll bring up Buster Posey. Posey walked his first time up. And if you weren't with us when we talked about it his first time up, he's hitting .508 over his last 15 games. Ground ball to short. And the short way to second to force the runner and end the inning. 3 shutout innings for Lobstein. Posey retired. Still no score in the game.
Than a race. Nothing more right now than neck and neck.
There's a high drive to left field. Goodbye.
Welcome to the hunt for October.
And it is officially underway both here in Detroit and in San Francisco as well. We've got the Giants and Tigers for you tonight here on Sunday Night Baseball. A scoreless game as the Giants try to sweep the series and move back within 2 games of the Dodgers atop the National League West. The Dodgers winning earlier today over Arizona. Pleased to be joined now from the Giants dugout by Jake Peavy, a relative newcomer to San Francisco, was picked up at a trade this year. Thanks for joining us, Jake.
Thanks for having me, guys.
How's this change been for you over the last couple of months?
You know, it's been different, but a lot of fun. I couldn't be any more excited to be in San Francisco with a great group of guys, great coaching staff, and be right in the middle of a race.
We watched and read with great interest the events on Friday night when you started the game. And you went 3 innings, and as you well know, you were right in the middle of it. I mean, the heavens opened up after 3 innings, and it rained for 2 hours and 42 minutes. How did you talk your manager, Bruce Bochy, into sending you back out there after that rain delay? Well,
you know, me and Skipper here have a pretty unique relationship. This guy raised me when I was 20 years old and getting to play for one of the best ever. We have a special relationship, and he trusts me, I believe. So, you know, I stayed as loose as I can. This training staff and strength coach with Carl and A-Ray, Gresh, these guys are incredible and did a great job of keeping me loose to the point where I felt like I could still contribute and still give us some innings that we will need it.
Jake, when you had your first start for the San Francisco Giants after being traded, we had Tim Hudson on, and he spoke very highly of you. Any comment you want to make about Tim Hudson?
Well, I guess I got no choice but to talk good about him, right?
You don't have to.
No, Timmy's great. Timmy's been a hero, almost inspiration. You know, I signed with Auburn University after Timmy had just graduated because he played in the field and pitched and was such a great player there. So I kind of wanted to go to Auburn to be like Tim Hudson. Then he got to the big leagues before me. Had such a great run in Oakland and Atlanta, and I've always watched him from afar. Both being Alabama boys, now getting a chance to play with him, get to know what he's about, and become good friends. Sat and watched Auburn play last night in the hotel suite with the boys. So a lot of fun being around Timmy, and he looks awfully good tonight.
Well, speaking of someone you've watched from afar, and now you get to see him on an everyday basis, is Buster Posey. Have you ever seen anyone this hot before?
Yeah, Buster's a special player. You know, there's not many players in the game that at such a young age and such little service time have accomplished what this man's accomplished. Batting title, MVP, Rookie of the Year, and a couple World Series titles. That's a pretty impressive resume, and he's doing it once again. This team wouldn't be in the position we're in without Buster, that's for sure. He's a special, special player.
It's a team, obviously, as you know, Jake, that's won a couple of World Series championships in 2010, 2012. I'd imagine there's a lot of confidence in the clubhouse right now about where things could be headed over the next several weeks.
You know, that's true. There's a championship pedigree here. There's a belief in themselves as an organization from top to bottom. It's just a great organization. Like I said, I feel so blessed to be here. We're just fighting for our lives every day, trying to get in, and we know that we have players in the room that have been there before, not afraid to show up on a big stage and find a way to win a world title. So it's refreshing to come to work today with guys who have one thing in mind, that's getting in and having a chance to win 11 games.
Alex Avila leading off the inning for the Tigers against Hudson. 2 balls, 2 strikes on the Detroit catcher.
Yeah, Jake, you mentioned about the calm and the pedigree of world championships. That all comes down from the manager, doesn't it, and the coaching staff?
Yeah, absolutely. You know that, Crookie. This is, with no disrespect, I've played for some great managers, and Buddy Black, Ozzie Guillen, Robin, and John Farrell. Boch is a special type manager. He gets the guys to play as hard as he could ever imagine guys playing for him. He cares. He puts guys in great positions to succeed.
He was a teammate of Crucky's as Crucky was coming up, Bochy was finishing up. Is that right?
Yeah. I played well. Him and third base coach Tim Flannery, and Flan kind of took me under his wing, and that kind of answers a lot of questions.
Well, me and you have a lot in common because Flan has taken me under his wing for the second time this time around, posting internet stuff on us singing in the stairwell without me knowing.
Jake Peavy joining us from the Giants dugout. No score, bottom of the third here in Detroit. And the batter is Andrew Romine, the Tiger shortstop. We were talking last inning, Jake, about how Tim Hudson has spoken about, as you get older, you have to change as a pitcher. You have to adapt. Your stuff is a little bit different. Do you and he have those types of conversations about the continuous changes you guys might need to be making at this point in time?
We do. The game's ever changing. The game, I think, is as good as it's ever been. And once again, that's not disrespect for how the game was played. There's just so much talent, young talent, speed in the game. You have to go about things different. The strike zone's a little bit different with the way it's monitored now. It's going to be a tough play here.
Swinging bunt for a base hit.
Yeah, the game is certainly changed, and you gotta evolve as a pitcher, especially when your stuff's not the same. And mine and Huddy's stuff, I think you guys have all seen. It's a little bit different than the way we did it maybe in years past, but at the same time, that's what drives us to show that you can still compete, you can still change and get better even as you grow older in age.
And tell us about the big lefty you got in the rotation who's right in the prime of his career right now. Madison Bumgarner's having a heck of a season. Yeah,
I don't know if Madison gets the credit that he deserves. This kid's really, really special. Once again, I remember watching this guy in Texas as a rookie go out and win a World Series game and pitch as well as he did, being impressed. Now getting over, you get to see what guys are made of. This kid's a tough kid from North Carolina. Grinded through a great start yesterday to get to beat David Price. He's a special competitor, and once again, it's one of the reasons why you want to get in. When you have guys like that who can really be a number one and take over, you want to get in and get on those guys' back.
And he's probably the guy, when pitchers batting practice, you kind of want on your team when you're, don't you?
I tell you what, he's got as much power as I think anybody on this squad. It's pretty impressive.
Ian Kinsler bounces one foul up the third baseline, and he makes it look, and this might come out the wrong way, he makes it look easy. The ball seems to come out of his hand so easily, and the delivery is so fluid, and then it's by you before you know it.
I don't know if any people really realize, if you've been around this guy and shake his hand, he is a big country strong individual, and you'll get it if you spend some time in the weight room with him. He's those old country boys raised at this guy was raised, I think he was on a horse when he was 2 or 3 years old, I believe, roping. So those guys got a different kind of toughness and strength sometimes. But Madison's a great kid, and like I said, it's an honor to get to play with the up-and-coming young stars of the game.
You're looking forward to your first taste of the Giants-Dodgers rivalry?
I am. I got thrown right into the mix there in that first start, lost on an unearned run. We didn't play our best, but it's special. Being back on the West Coast, it's different, it's familiar. There's no better stage than to pitch on in Dodger Stadium. I love that place. Love playing against the Dodgers as well. So I think we got 6 games left. 3 at our place and 3 at their place. Will be special.
Yeah, it looks like you've got to start against Arizona. It looks like you're going to get your next 2 against Arizona, but you might wind up starting at Dodger Stadium after that if things go according to plan.
Yeah, I hope so. That's what we live for. As competitors, you live to be on the stage where you can make a difference in your club getting in, and I'll do my very best if I get that opportunity, I promise you.
Runner going, and the ball is dropped by Posey as Romine steals second.
Big spot in the game here, as you guys know. With the top of the lineup up, good count here for Ian Kinsler. Just to make some pitches here and try not to get to the heart of that lineup with runners on this inning.
Crookie, watch yourself. We're getting some analysis now. From the
How about that, Crookie?
Well, hey, Jake, you're free after this year, right?
Hey, listen, I'm a free agent. That means for ESPN too.
Kinsler hits one sharply, but at Crawford, the shortstop, who will look the runner back and on to first, 2 down. Is it tough not to think about next year, or do you put next year out of your mind until this year's finished?
You know what, Dan, I've been so blessed to have such a great career that I really am all in the moment. I really can't get ahead of myself. So I've had some health things. I've finally, hopefully, proven to the world that I can stay healthy. I'm just 33, and I love playing this game. I love being a part of a team, and really have tried to grasp that over the last few years of my career. And I'm going to play until somebody rips this uniform off of me, unless those little boys in Alabama ask Daddy to retire. But I think they enjoy it. And like I said, us few that get the opportunity to play this game for a living, man, I'm as blessed as anybody that I know. And probably you guys know as well. So I love being a part. We'll see. Let those chips fall where they may. Just going to try to finish strong here.
Yeah, no, and I wasn't implying you're not going to play next year, but that you're a free agent, and who knows where you might play next year.
That's true. And I have no set agenda, and we'll see how all that plays out. But like I said, try to stay in the moment, especially when your team's got things on the horizon as this team does. So.
Well, we appreciate the time. Thanks very much for joining us, and have a great run the rest of the way.
Good seeing you guys.
Thanks, Jake. Jake Peavy of the San Francisco Giants. He has pitched extremely well, Crookie, since he's come back to the National League and back with Bruce Bochy. He certainly seems comfortable in his new environment. Hunter hits one into shallow right center, a base hit. Romine will come in to score, and the Tigers take a 1-0 lead.
Well, sometimes when you pitch with great movement like Tim Hudson does, you're going to get some of these hits off of him. You see the pitch right here. Ball out over the plate, away, but Torrey Hunter, watch him hands get to that ball, but he hits it off the end of the bat, and if he hits it off the barrel, because he had to reach for it, probably a fly ball to Angel Pagan in center field instead. Little broken bat, blooper over the second baseman's head, Panic's head, and the Tigers have a 1-run lead.
So a run in, a man on, and with 2 outs, here's Miguel Cabrera, who grounded into a double play his first time up. Even with the injuries that have plagued him this year, Cabrera saying a few weeks ago he doesn't feel fully recovered from the off-season surgery, the core or abdominal surgery that he had, and now the right ankle problem, which has been a real problem for him in recent weeks. Even with a couple of fairly significant issues, he's hitting over 300, and he's going to drive in over 100 runs.
Well, I mean, unless he misses 50 games, you can just book 100. He should start at 100, really.
And as you talked about at our morning meeting, we were looking at some video. He's just so strong. He can get fooled a little bit. He can be out on his front foot. He can not have a good base underneath him because of a sore ankle, and he can still hit the ball out of the ballpark.
The home run he hit off Sergio Romo yesterday was a slider that he was out in front of, and just the sheer strength and power of the man hits the ball over the left field fence.
Hit 2 home runs on Monday, hit 2 more yesterday, after he had been in a real power slump for a number of weeks.
High and deep left center field, and he's got another one.
You can see the ankles hurting him by his jog around the bases, but it hurts a little bit less when you hit it as far as he did and you get to run around at your own pace.
Well, Tim Hudson hangs him a slow breaking ball right here, but here's what we're talking about, his back foot. See how it lifts off the ground and there's not that spin and torque on it, but a hanging breaking ball. Size and strength and bat speed of Miguel Cabrera. That's how he can still hit the ball out of the ballpark. Still one of the prettiest swings you'll see.
So that's 3 home runs in the last 2 games, 5 home runs in the last 7 games now for Cabrera, his 22nd of the season.
6 in the 3rd games.
And 99 RBIs.
Unbelievable. I mean, so quick.
And as you said right off the top of the show in the open, for people who weren't with us, you don't think they can get where they want to get unless he can do what he wants to do.
I don't think so, because it makes it, if he struggles or what is perceived as struggling for him, it makes Victor easier to pitch to, because you won't have to pitch to him if you don't want to.
Victor Martinez, the batter now, hit a fly ball to left field his first time up. So you got one guy with 22 homers and 99 RBIs in Cabrera, and then the next guy in Martinez with 30 home runs and 94 RBIs. Laced foul.
And you think about how this inning started. Swinging bunt by Andrew Romine, base hit. Steals second. Torrey Hunter, 2 outs. Broken bat off the end of the bat, blooper to right center field for an RBI, and then the hanging breaking ball that covered all the distance the other 2 hits didn't cover.
And Cabrera had gone, Crucky, 26 games without a home run before he hit 2 on Monday, and then 2 more yesterday and 1 more today. Shift is on against Martinez again. A little change up there from Hudson is fouled off down the left side.
You know, Dan, it's just the great players that he knows how important he is to this team. He knows that if he doesn't perform, then it drastically weakens their offense and could cost them a chance to play in October. And ankle injury, and they said he just has to try to tolerate the pain. It was described today as a bone spur in his ankle by Brad Ausmus, and luckily the American League, they can give him a half a day off by DHing him, put Victor Martinez at first. You know, Ausmus told us, you know, the last thing he wants to do is DH because he loves playing the field. But you have to give him a rest, and if he can tolerate the pain in the ankle and he continues to swing like he is, to me, Detroit is in.
Right now, the Tigers, as we mentioned, trying to chase down the Royals in the American League Central and trying to chase down the Mariners in the wild card race. Kansas City won again today. As Carl and Barry mentioned to you a little bit earlier, on the day where Derek Jeter was honored in Yankee Stadium, the Royals won the game 2-0. So KC is 2.5 up on the Tigers. In the wild card standings, Seattle lost today. Derek Holland got the win, his first of the season, as the Rangers beat Seattle 1-0. So Detroit is 1 back of Seattle. And Seattle's only 2 back of Oakland. Oakland lost again. They were beaten by Houston 4-3. And the A's are no sure thing, which is amazing after the kind of season they had until about 10 days ago. Fly ball to right field to retire Victor Martinez to end the inning. But Miguel Cabrera with his 3rd home run in the last 2 games. Hobbling around the bases. But the Tigers now have a 3-0 lead. Welcome back to Detroit. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. The Tigers, on the strength of a Miguel Cabrera 2-run homer, now have a 3-0 lead on the Giants as we go to the top of the 4th. Middle of the order for the Giants, 4, 5, and 6. Hunter Pence, Pablo Sandoval, and Adam Duvall. Pence grounded out his first time up. Bruce Bochy said of Pence before the game, quote, "He is without question the lowest maintenance player I have ever had to manage. Shows up every day, plays every day." Scorches one down to third, backhanded by Castellanos. One down. Castellanos didn't have his glove back on his hand when they were firing around the infield. This is not a team known for great defense. And Castellanos, Brad Ausmus said of Castellanos before the game, if it's in his range, he'll make the play.
And he did. And he made the play. And he kind of threw that ball. It looked like it tailed on Miguel Cabrera. You see him having to stretch for that ball. I mean, look how he hobbles to get to first base, and then he has to make that stretch and really put some stress on that ankle.
And now a bouncer to short off the bat of Sandoval, and Romine throws him out quickly, 2 down. Miguel Cabrera with a home run in the bottom of the 3rd. We've talked about the ankle. You saw how it affected him on his swing and his run around the bases. And this is what he's dealing with just walking to first base.
Yeah, if he was a guy that lived off his legs as far as getting on base and stealing bases, probably wouldn't be in the lineup, but he's not going to get many infield singles either way, and his job is to hit it out of the ballpark and drive in runs, and he's done that with that bad ankle.
And there's a strike to Adam Duvall, as Kyle Lobstein, by the way, has thrown a first pitch strike to 14 of 15 batters.
That'll work, but he has to. He can't nibble and get behind in the count, because if he has to throw his fastball in a fastball count, pretty good chance it's going to get hit. But I'm surprised. And look, you can see where Miguel Cabrera plays with, right-hand hitter up in Duvall that has some pop. He's playing pretty much, most guys are back by the outfield grass, and he's kind of halfway. You wonder when a guy like maybe Angel Pagan or Gregor Blanco or someone like that might bunt and make him move around the field.
And that's the inning as Lobstein strikes out Duvall, his 3rd strikeout of the night. 4 shutout innings for the left-hander in a 3-0 Tiger lead going to the bottom of the 4th. It's 3-0 between innings. Our Buster Olney with Giants manager Bruce Bochy.
Bruce, this is your first look at Kyle Lobstein. What are you learning about him?
Well, he's hitting his spots. He's using his changeup well and breaking ball, and he's keeping it down away well and keeping us honest inside. And, we've just got to hopefully get something going on the bases, see if we can put some pressure on him here.
Diagnose that last half inning for Tim Hudson.
Well, he left a couple off-speed pitches up, especially to Cabrera. That breaking ball got away from him, and he's hot right now. You make a mistake, you're probably going to pay for it.
Bruce, thanks.
We'll see how Hudson responds here in the bottom of the 4th after the 3-run 3rd. He'll face J.D. Martinez, Don Kelly, and Nick Castellanos, 5, 6, and 7 in the Tigers lineup. Martinez, a guy, as Crucky mentioned briefly a little bit earlier, wasn't even with the Tigers in spring training, was signed during spring training, started the year in the minors, They called him up. Torrey Hunter was out for a while with an injury. He got a chance to play more. He split some time at left with Rajai Davis. He played some right when Hunter was out, and he just swung the bat so well. He became an everyday player and has moved into the 5-hole for the Tigers. And as you can see, has done great.
Yeah, and what it does, Dan, is it moves Torrey Hunter back to the 2 spot. You know, he was hitting 5th there for a while until they hopefully found someone to hit 5th. But he's done it, and he's done it well. And seems like it's a deeper lineup right now with J.D. Martinez in it.
Popped out a play off to the right, 2-2. Not only do they get to maybe sleep through a little school tomorrow morning, they get their faces painted tonight.
I wonder how hard that stuff is to get off. Because you know after the game they're going to be tired. So they're probably
spend the night, sleep through it, or
go right to bed. And now does that stuff?
No, then it's permanent. Then it stays that way.
Does that stuff, like, will it get all over the pillowcase and all that?
(3-2) and fouled off by Martinez. Not just for young kids, for kids of all ages.
We should do that one week.
No, we should.
Why not?
You want to rock paper scissors for it?
No.
We should do that one.
Yeah. What's more immature, getting our faces painted or doing rock scissors paper?
Rock
to
paper
decide
scissors.
Whatever.
It's not rock scissors paper. It's
whatever.
rock, paper, scissors.
I got the American version going.
America would love to see you with your face painted. Would love it. You know, they might superimpose some face paint on you. They can do that through the magic of television. So
I'd rather do that than that game you suggested.
What do you got against rock paper scissors, for crying out loud? Grump.
Not that I've ever matured.
Yeah. But diving stop. Arias to first. Didn't get him. And we'll see if Bruce Bochy's going to at least come out and contemplate a challenge. Ron Wood is the bench coach on the phone saying safe. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, Boch is happy he didn't have to go all the way out there. But yeah, just by the naked eye you could hear J.D. Martinez hit the base. But a great play by Arias just to get to this ball, and he got up as quick as he could. That's the awkward turn that he had to make that took just that split second. If he could have turned the other way, made a stronger throw. But you can see Martinez easily safe on that one. Not easily, but safe enough that they didn't have to go to replay.
Pablo Sandoval is DHing tonight as the Giants play here in an American League Park. That's why Arias is at third. So it's an infield hit for J.D. Martinez to begin the fourth, and now the batter is Don Kelly. Runner is going. Boy, the Tigers have been aggressive on the bases tonight. That's already their third stolen base. Kelly, Romine, Martinez. Tigers are picking on Hudson and Posey.
And believe me, sinker ballers are good guys to steal off of because they have such great movement. The catcher has to stay back, but they also keep the ball down, which is a harder throw for most catchers to make. And this one's down. See, Posey tried to short hop it and scoop it and make a throw to try to get Martinez, but no chance.
Tigers are not known as a team that runs that aggressively that often, but they are 3 for 3 already tonight. And at least two of them, I know the Kelly one and that one, both came on the first pitch. Entering the game tonight, the numbers we have say that Posey has thrown out 31%, and that Hudson has allowed 11 of 13 to steal successfully when he's been on the mound. So maybe it's more of a Hudson thing than a Posey thing.
Well, it's the sinker. It's such a hard pitch for a catcher because you have to be prepared to block it, because if it bounces, it's not like it's going to be, belt high.
2-2 the count on Kelly.
Or here's where Kelly, 3-run lead. You got to try to get J.D. Martinez over to third base with less than 2 outs and see if Castellanos can drive him in, but he has to pull this ball and get Martinez over.
Pitch away, full count. Kelly's a guy who's played multiple positions. He has made starts at 5 different positions for the Tigers this year, and that's always kind of his lot. A utility guy who gets in there when he can and does a nice solid job defensively pretty much everywhere Brad Ausmus puts him. The Tigers have been using Rajay Davis and Ezekiel Carrera in center since the trade of Austin Jackson.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. You brought it up, how valuable he would be to a National League team as Don Kelly.
Well, he should make a call. His brother-in-law is Neil Walker with the Pittsburgh Pirates. I don't know if that's tampering what I just did.
It is.
There's a ball pulled foul, but his skills and the way he is used seem to lend itself more to a National League style of play.
Yeah, it does. And like you said, all 3 outfield positions, anywhere in the infield. I would imagine if you said, hey, look, we need an emergency catcher, he would probably put the gear on and without question, because he knows he has to stay. That's the way he's going to stay in the big leagues and get an opportunity to have a long career.
Down and in, ball 4. Hudson very upset with himself after losing Kelly. ESPN's Major League Baseball coverage continues with a doubleheader on Wednesday, and you will see each of these teams. The Tigers will be here at home against the Royals, the team they're trying to catch in the AL Central. 7 Eastern here on ESPN, and then the Giants will host the Diamondbacks at 10 Eastern. The Giants trying to chase down the Dodgers, and also with a pretty healthy lead in the National League wild card race right now. 1 week from tonight, we will be at Camden Yards in Baltimore as the Orioles host the New York Yankees. Baltimore won today. They beat Tampa Bay 7-5 in 11 innings. Did you hear what Nelson Cruz did today?
Yeah, did well for the Fighting Showalters.
4 for 5, single, triple, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs. Drove in all 7 runs for the Orioles today as they win 7-5. Not a bad one-year pickup.
And for not a lot. It wasn't like they had to pay him $20 million for that 1 year.
I'm not saying he's going to win the MVP. I think Mike Trout's going to win the MVP. But doesn't Cruz get some third, fourth, fifth? I mean, doesn't he get some votes?
I think Adam Jones has to also. Yeah. Adam Jones having a spectacular year.
First and second, nobody out for Castellanos, who grounded out his first time up. And a strike.
You look at the way the defensive position, you see Adam Duvall playing in like Castellanos is going to at first base, playing like Castellanos might bunt, and this is the American League. That normally doesn't happen much, that old bunt play. Now he's moving back. This is where if he has a good sinker in him, this is a great place for it. Arias better be ready.
Well, he threw it, but he threw it up. And it's 0-2.
Yeah, I don't think that was what was intended for Tim Hudson.
He gets a ton of ground balls. As you can see, he's one of the tops in baseball in terms of getting ground balls. The sinker's a big reason. That was the sinker, or the two-seam fastball, but it was up at the belt.
Yeah, and that could have been why Castellanos was a little late on it, because you don't look for that sinker up too often. And
that one gets through Posey, and the runners will advance.
Well, it wasn't a cross-up because after Buster Posey threw the ball to Hudson, there was no discussion on what sign we're using. I think that was just a missed ball by Buster Posey. I mean, it was a very catchable pitch just below the knees of Castellanos, and that's a ball that, I mean, you got to make that play. And now the Giants have to play the infield in here with no outs, and you know, anything hit relatively hard on the ground, which Hudson's a ground ball pitcher, could squirt by, and now you have 2 runs in, and it's a 5-0 game.
Pass ball on Posey, infield in, and Castellanos lays off the slider down and away. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, the temptation is, because there's a runner on third, less than 2 outs, and the infield in, is to try to lift the ball. But I think if you're Castellanos, and unless he hangs something, but if Tim Hudson throws the sinker, you got to try to drive it through the infield on the ground.
And Hudson gets him for the first out of the inning. So now it's Alex Avila. Avila grounded out his first time up.
Dan, you look at the way the infield's set up there. You see Panic and Duvall over there on the right side, and Crawford. They're halfway. This is a play where you're J.D. Martinez, even though Hudson's pitching from the stretch and Arias is kind of close at third. This is a play for J.D. Martinez. If you see that Aviles hits a slow roller, a ball off the end of the bat that's on the ground, he might take a chance here and try to steal a run.
1-1 the count on Avila. There's Martinez at third. Kelly's at second as Brad Ausmus's club looks to add to its 3-0 lead here in the bottom of the 4th. The Giants winning the first 2 games of the series.
Looked stressed, didn't they?
Well located pitch on the outside corner with the knees. 1-2.
Well, Tim Hudson, he's trying to get the ground ball. If he can't get the strikeout, he's trying to get the ground ball somewhere to the infield. If you're Avila right here, you have to think other way. You can't even dream about pulling, because if you do, you're going to roll it over that sinker and hit a ground ball to second or first, or back to the pitcher. Got to try to shoot this thing the other way.
The 24th pitch of the inning already upcoming here for Tim Hudson. Got a pitch up, and it's fouled back.
Well, they always say you get one pitch in that bat to hit. And I think that one right there was the one for Aviles, and now you might see that nasty sinker coming up. And you see this last pitch. I mean, you're trying to get something that you can either drive through the infield or elevate into the outfield to score this 4th run for the Tigers. And that was the one, Dan. Now Hudson can get that nasty sinker going. He could get this rollover grounder. I think with Romine up next, I think the Tigers are going to take a chance on a ground ball. I think they're going to have J.D. Martinez go a contact play, and like I said, see if they can steal this 4th run.
2-2. Brad Ausmus in his first year as manager of the Tigers. A longtime catcher at the major league level, and a guy who spent some time with Bruce Bochy, too. And he was a player with San Diego, and Bochy was the manager once upon a time. line to first. Hit hard off the bat of Avila, but nothing to show for it. 2 down as the runners get back.
That was the old hanging changeup, hang with them. Alex Avila. See the changeup, see the spin on the ball. He's trying to get it to go down and away from Avila, but he hung it, and luckily Hudson got the line drive right at Duvall. Now no one scores, and Andrew Romine's up, which that doesn't take the bunt away, Dan.
2 down in the inning, second and third. Romine had a swinging bunt for an infield hit his first time up, stole the base and came in to score. Romine's a guy who had the shortstop job earlier in the season, didn't hit very much, and eventually, well, this is after the injury to Jose Iglesias, the shortstop whom they intended to be their regular guy this year. Stress fractures in both legs. Romine took over, didn't hit very much, and eventually Eugenio Suarez was called up from the minors, and he has been the primary shortstop for the second half of the season. But Romine, as Crucky mentioned, Brad Ausmus told us before the game, their best defensive option at short, and Lobstein is a guy that Ausmus feels, in spite of the strikeouts against Cleveland, he's a pitch to contact guy, and there will be a lot of ground ball action. And Romine gets the start here tonight.
So you put your best defense in and hope Mickey goes deep.
So far so good for the game plan for Brad Ausmus.
It's working.
1-2. Two-run home run for Miguel Cabrera in the third inning. He's given the Tigers the 3-0 lead they now enjoy, trying to add to it. A promising start to the inning. Had runners at second and third with nobody out, and now second and third with 2 outs. And Hudson tried to run it back over the inside corner and didn't miss by much. Long inning for Hudson, trying to get out of it without giving up any damage. Count is full.
Well, the last thing he wants to do is walk Andrew Romine to get to Ian Kinsler, even though Kinsler's 0 for 2. He's last at bat, he hit the ball right on the screws to Crawford for an out. But if you're Romine, you're looking the bread and butter. Sinker, down and away. Don't try to pull it.
And it's a 2-hopper out to second on a sinker, and that'll end the inning as the Tigers leave 2 men on in scoring position against Hudson, and as a result still lead by 3 now at the end of 4. 2-0 lead on the Giants. We go to the top of the 5th. Between innings, our Buster Olney with Tigers manager Brad Ausmus.
Brad, after a streak of 26 games in which Miguel Cabrera didn't hit a home run, he's got 5 in the last 7 games. What's been different in your eyes?
You know, the one thing I noticed that's different is he's really staying on the off-speed pitches. The off-speed pitches in the zone, he might have been a little bit ahead of. I don't know if that was because of the ankle or not, but he's staying back a little bit longer. He's able to stay through it and drive it.
Kyle Lobstein, 4 scoreless innings. What's he doing well in your eyes?
Well, for him, it's about changing speeds and throwing strikes. He has to keep Monas in. For the most part, he eats up the outside part of the plate, and he just goes changeup, fastball, mixing a breaking ball, and just pushes and pulls with it.
Brad, thanks.
And he has done an outstanding job here in just his 3rd major league start. 23 years of age. Originally a second-round pick by Tampa Bay back in 2008. He was drafted in the Rule 5 draft a couple of years ago by the Mets, but the Tigers then made a deal to get him. It was the Tigers telling the Mets, you pick him in this spot and then we'll give you we'll give you XYZ to get him, and they got Lobstein. And you know, do you think this guy ever thought a month or 2 ago he'd be up here making starts for this team? The rotation looked like the best and deepest in all of baseball, but the Sanchez injury has opened things up, and Lobstein is pitching some very important innings and pitching very well for the Tigers here. Now in 3 starts.
Yeah, he's very much a contrast from the other starting pitchers that they do have. He's not a big power guy like Verlander, like Scherzer, like Sanchez when he's healthy, and of course David Price. He's the comfortable offer. Remarkably, there's been a lot of offers against him.
Joaquin Arias leading off the inning for the Giants. Gets jammed and pops it up foul, back out of play. Well, Sanchez with a sore shoulder. He hasn't officially been shut down. The Tigers are still hoping they could get him back, but obviously just 3 weeks left in the season. Max Scherzer's had a very good season. Rick Porcello's had a very good season, although he was roughed up in his start on Friday night. David Price has had some very good moments for the Tigers, but overall has not pitched as well as they would have hoped for when they got him, including that start where he gave up 9 consecutive hits to the Yankees. And then Justin Verlander not having a typical Verlander season. He's got an ERA of 4.80.
Yeah, it's remarkable that, I mean, when you look at that right there, you think, okay, how are they still in this? But they are, because of course they have a great offense, and of course Scherzer has established himself as the ace of the staff. And you know, in the first half of the season, Rick Porcello was one of the best pitchers in the American League, and he still has 15 wins.
You'll see Porcello facing James Shields when the Royals are here Wednesday night on ESPN. Verlander will start the first game of the series tomorrow against Kansas City. The Tigers' rotation is 9th out of 15 teams in the American League in collective ERA on the season. That, you know, given the names and the credentials that these pitchers bring, that's a shock. You would expect the Tigers' rotation on the year to be 1st, 2nd, 3rd, somewhere like that. They are 9th out of 15.
Well, and yet Kyle Lobstein's teaching everyone here how to pitch, and that's first pitch strikes, and he's commanding both sides of the plate. Fastball in, fastball away. When he thinks he has to throw a breaking ball, strike 1, he throws a breaking ball, and then this at bat to Angel Pagano. First pitch changeup, Pagano's out in front, he hits off the end of the bat, pops it up to the infield, and that's the way Kyle Lobstein has to pitch. He has to pitch ahead, and he has. 15 first pitch strikes out of the 16 batters he's faced. Remarkable.
Misses on the first pitch there to Gregor Blanco, who struck out his first time up.
Get someone warmed up.
See, the pitch count's a very efficient one here in the 5th inning, unlike Hudson, who's had to battle and has had some long innings. Lobstein's been very efficient. Check swing there by Blanco. Line down toward the right field corner. That's a fair ball. And Blanco with a good speed is easily into second base with a 1-out double.
Well, here's what we mentioned. The first pitch strikes he's getting outs with. And now he gets behind Gregor Blanco 2-0. He has to throw something in the strike zone, and he's not overpowering. Here's the 2-0 pitch. You see Aviles is setting down and away. 89-mile-an-hour fastball, not enough to get in someone's kitchen on a regular basis. Blanco, of course, 2-0. You're looking for something to spin on, and he does. And now the Giants have a little something going right now.
A runner in scoring position with 1 out for the number 9 hitter, Brandon Crawford. Crawford struck out in his first at bat. For a guy who has struggled overall, he's done a nice job with the runners in scoring position on the season. This has been one of the keys recently for the Giants as a whole, especially in the last 8 games coming into this one, when they have scored 67 runs, 8.4 runs per game. They've been a terror with runners in scoring position too. They have just, you think of this team, you think of pitching, but the hitting since the All-Star break, and even to a greater extent recently, has been about as good as anybody's in baseball.
Yeah, and it's amazing the transition they've made from 2010, where it was pitching and defense, and now it's it's still they pitch, but it's pretty much defense, and we're going to try to outscore you too.
Since the All-Star break, the most runs per game in the National League, the highest batting average in the National League. Playing half their games in another notorious pitcher's park. But because of that offense, among other things, they're keeping touch with the Dodgers. And they've got a couple of series left with the Dodgers between now and the end of the season, including one next weekend in San Francisco. At the moment, the Giants 2.5 back after the Dodgers won earlier today, defeating Arizona 7-2.
I wonder if Hunter Pence sleeps. He has so much energy.
Line him up, let him go. He's played all but 5 innings this year, and in every full season of his career, Crucky, other than the rookie season when he came up midway through the year, he's played at least 154 games every season. And he's the current Major League Iron Man, both in terms of starts and games played.
What, 2,300 away from Cal?
Yeah, he's got a ways to go. Let's check back with him in a few years on that.
Yeah, we won't be here for that one.
By the way, in the Dodger game, that 7-2 win, Adrian Gonzalez hit 2 3-run homers for the Dodgers, and Zach Greinke picked up win number 14. Roller to the right side, good range to his left by Kinsler to get Crawford 2 down, Blanco to third. And you said somewhat jokingly after a ball 1, well, they better get somebody up, but again, Lobstein's not overpowering. Maybe there's a little bit of don't let the lineup see him the 3rd time through, but just in case, Al Albuquerque is starting to throw.
Yeah, this is easy throwing right here, and I would imagine that Al Albuquerque's just getting himself prepared in case they get to, if Pagan gets on, if Panic gets on, then you have Posey with 2 outs, and that's probably who you would bring Albuquerque in to face.
Pagan has grounded out and popped up.
Yeah, the Tigers are at a point right now in the season where they can't worry about catering to anyone to win. If he gets in trouble this inning, Lobstein gets in trouble, then you got to go get him because you have to win. Can't try to nurse him through the 5th inning to get him a win.
Changeup misses down and away, ball 2. If you're Pagan right now, what are you zeroing in on?
Well, you're going to get a visit from the mound first, but I think if I'm Pagan, I'm making sure he throws a fastball. He swung last at bat first pitch on a changeup up and popped it up. But you have to remember, even though Panic got a base hit his last at bat. He's still a lefty-lefty matchup. So if you're Lobstein, you're probably not as apt to say, okay, I can just fire a fastball right here 2-0 to Angel Pagan. He might still try to work him a little bit with a changeup, have him get himself out if he thinks he's overly aggressive. And knowing that you still have a lefty back there behind him that you can get out. But yeah, the last thing you want to do is throw a cookie right here because you don't want to walk him, and you give up a 2-run homer and it's, you know, put the Giants right back in this game.
Up the middle, and Kinsler won't have a play. It'll be an infield hit and an RBI for Pagan as the Giants are on the board, now trailing 3-1.
Number 12, Joe Shannon.
Well, he got a pitch out of this. Got a pitch out over the plate, and luckily he didn't try to pull it and get away. You see it right there, 88 miles an hour and running away from Pagan. He tries to pull that ball. It's a grounder to short or third. Instead, he stays on it and gets a break. Really, I mean, not that any hit's lucky, but he hit it in the perfect spot.
A sliding stop there to his left by Avila. Ball 1 to Joe Panik. So you think this could be last batter? If he doesn't get panicked, then maybe Albuquerque faces Posey.
Because if he doesn't, then Buster Posey's the go-ahead run. And even though it's the 5th inning, he's still the go-ahead run. And you can't afford to let the Giants tie it or get ahead in this inning.
Missed again. And Albuquerque thrown a little bit harder than when we last checked in with him.
Yeah, he knows what the deal is. They've told him, they've called down there, and there's Mick Billmeyer that standing behind him, who's a piece of work. But they called down there and said, Mick, he's Posey's. You get him up for Posey. Get him easy. If they get a couple guys on, get him going.
The hottest hitter in baseball entering the game tonight. 33 for his last 65.
And already 0 for 1 in this one.
Albuquerque ready.
I'd like to have that job.
Bullpen coach?
No. Albuquerque.
Albuquerque.
You get a call
get ready for Posey?
Yeah, get ready for Posey, because if he comes up this inning, they have a chance to tie or go ahead. And he's the hottest hitter on the planet. But go get him.
Go get him.
Yeah. And if you pitch around him, if the guy Pence is behind him, it's pretty good too. But good luck.
Lobstein a strike away from getting through the 5th.
Two. Here comes that sweeping slider. Hope to get Panik to chase. At least that's my call.
Check the swing on that sweeping slider, so the count is full. Could go right back to it again, right?
He could, but the ego of a pitcher of saying, I know that if I don't get him out, I'm coming out of this game and I won't get a win with a 3-1 lead. So he might say, I'm going to throw a fastball and take my chances right here with Panik, who only has one home run this year.
Runner is going, and it's bounced foul. So they'll do it all over again. Pagan will be on the move. He's driven in a run this inning. 27th pitch of the inning. About to be thrown by Kyle Lobstein. Will it be his last pitch of the night? And a ground ball down to first. Jammed him with a fastball. Gets the ground out. Gets the third out. And gets through 5 with the lead intact. 3-1 Tigers. We'll see Miguel Cabrera hitting in the bottom half.
I got my mind made up and I can't let go. I'm killing every second till it saves my soul. Woo.
Back in Detroit, Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. The Tigers lead the Giants 3-1. We go to the bottom of the 5th inning. And Ian Kinsler will lead it off against Tim Hudson. Top of the order for the Tigers. Kinsler, Hunter, and Cabrera. Kinsler has grounded out twice. Just missed, and it's ball 2. You can see both Posey and Hudson wanted that one. Some hesitation in both of them, waiting for the strike call that wasn't coming. And a fastball at the knees, 2-1. Two-seamer there from Hudson. 3 runs, 6 hits, no errors for the Tigers. Miguel Cabrera has homered for Detroit. 1 run, 4 hits, no errors for the Giants. Giants have left 4. Tigers have left 3. Two. Actually got
big inning. It's a big inning right here for Tim Hudson. Yeah, he hasn't been able to find it. You watch him even during warm-ups, and he's elevating the breaking ball, and a veteran pitcher, he's going to go to it. But this is a big inning. You got the top of the order up. You just scored a run, 3-1. Your guys are feeling good. Okay, we got the Lobstein a little bit, and now we have the middle of our lineup coming up next inning. He shuts this inning down and gives the Giants a chance.
A high fly ball to shallow center field. And way in to make the catch. Pagan, 1 down. Let's go down to Buster Olney.
Guys, you saw that 4th inning, a really tense half inning for Tim Hudson and also for his wife, Kim, who was watching as he had a couple runners on base and managed to get out of it. And she tweeted out, "Baseball takes years off my life. That is all."
Tough sitting there at home watching your husband from afar.
I don't have a husband.
And she's been doing it a long time. It's not like she's new to the baseball business, right?
Yeah. I wonder, probably a little tougher watching your husband not have a job, right?
to center field. A base hit for Torrey Hunter, who's 3 for 3. So here comes Miguel Cabrera.
Second at bat, the hanging curveball. Watch the ankle, though, comes off the ground a little bit like Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron was a big front foot hitter. Miguel Cabrera hasn't really pushed off in. You see him between innings, limped into his position, and a wide throw right there by Castellanos that pulled him, that made him stretch a little bit. And you see the ankle, even when he threw, his ankle or his foot was off the ground. He's not even pushing off when he throws. So the pain is there, but it's a pain you can live with when you're hitting them that far.
His 22nd home run of the season, RBIs number 98 and 99.
I got a feeling Torrey Hunter might run in this situation. I know with one out, the last thing you want to do is take the bat out of Cabrera's hand, but Victor Martinez ain't no slouch behind him.
Popped him up. Foul territory, and the catch will be made by Duvall. Cabrera retired, a very big second out for Tim Hudson.
Well, a huge out by Tim Hudson, but this is that heavy sinker that just goes down just out of the strike zone. And, even a pitch that low in the strike zone, he can still. He has a swing that he can elevate, but ball down in the zone, you really have to attack it with your legs, and you see that back foot come off the ground. There's no real spin and pivot on his ankle, and like all great hitters, and you got to talk to yourself sometimes, Dan. You tell yourself everything you did wrong from that walk back from home plate back to the dugout, and I'm sure you still talking to yourself now.
Victor Martinez, the batter, 0 for 2. Well, you just wonder if the Cabrera situation is something. Will it get any better over the next few weeks? It doesn't sound like it. It sounds like it's a pain tolerance thing from now until the end of the season.
Yeah, the biggest thing is it's not if it's going to get better, because it's not. If you're going to play on it every day, it's not getting better. But how much worse will it get? Will it get so bad that it becomes where he can't play? And I just have a feeling that he's not going to tell anyone on the training staff or the coaching staff or the manager the real truth, and most players don't.
But Brad Ausmus may have to kind of yo-yo Cabrera and Martinez between first and DH, depending on who's feeling better on any given day.
Yeah, and that's the issue, because like you said, you call them both in every day and say, okay, which one of you feels well enough to play first base tonight? And that's who you go with.
Tigers have stolen 3 bases already in the game. Hunter's at first. 2 down. The 0-2 to Victor Martinez. High with a fastball, ball 1. I think he's got a little pine tar on the bat, judging by the left shoulder.
Yeah, there's quite a few guys in baseball now that have that. He rests it on his shoulders, and then when he swings, the swing comes through it. I saw it, I believe it was Martin Prado the other day with the Yankees, had a line on his back where if he had his name on his jersey, you wouldn't have been able to see the name on his jersey.
Chopper for Crawford, the shortstop, playing on the other side of the bag on the shift to retire Martinez and end the inning. Tigers up by 2 here in Detroit. Giants 3-1 as we go to the top of the 6th inning. Play ESPN and MLB.com's new games Sunday Night Showdown. Who will tally the most total bases? Will it be Brett Gardner and Jacoby Ellsbury 1 week from tonight, or Adam Jones and Nick Markakis? It's free to play. Make your pick now at ESPN.com/MLB Showdown for your chance to win 4 2015 opening day tickets to the team of your choice. A high fly ball to deep left center field, and Kelly is there to make the catch as Buster Posey sent it a long way, but just to the wrong part of this ballpark, as he is retired for out number 1.
We talked about it, Dan, how much more aggressive Buster Posey is early in the count, and he has swung early in the count in this game, and that one, like you said, he just missed that. This is one of those, I got him throwing first pitch strike, 87 miles an hour, just out over the plate enough that Buster Posey couldn't square it up to hit it a little lower to get it out of here. Caught it off the top of the, or bottom of the bat, or top of the bat, and up in the air she went and didn't carry.
So had Lobstein not gotten panicked to it in the 5th, in all likelihood it felt like he was going to come out and not face Posey. Are you surprised Brad Ausmus brought him back out for a fresh inning in the 6th?
No, because they still have someone down there warming up or throwing, and that if Buster Posey gets on base, now Hunter Pence becomes a tying run, and Albuquerque should be loose.
Now it's left-hander Blaine Hardy is up alongside Albuquerque. Pence is 0 for 2 on a couple of groundouts. Remember, he's on an 18-game hitting streak entering tonight. It's just low as Pence draws the walk. That'll bring up Pablo Sandoval, a switch hitter, and this year he's been a much better hitter from the left side. So the Tigers will want to keep him on this side. The question is it Lobstein or is it Hardy? And right now it looks like it's Lobstein.
When you look into the Tigers dugout, every coach is standing. Most of them sitting. They know what this game means. Knowing the Kansas City one, they know that they don't want to fall another game back from them. So you got to keep pace. And Lobstein hasn't earned the confidence in the coaching staff and of course manager Brad Ausmus either to keep him out in a game like this, thinking, okay, he'll work his way out of whatever little jam he's in right here with the runner on first and only 1 out.
First major league start August 28th against the Yankees. 6 innings, 2 runs, 1 earned, 83 pitches. Last start against Cleveland on Tuesday, 5 1/3, 2 earned runs, 10 strikeouts, 101 pitches. In the minors this year at AAA Toledo, 9-11 with an ERA of 4.07 in 25 starts. And Sandoval, who's a very, very aggressive hitter, swung at a borderline 2-0 pitch.
Yeah, that's one right there that you might want to be a little more or less free swinging on and get a 3-0 count instead of a 2-1 count. Because now Lobstein can go any way. Slider, change up, get him out in front, roll over grounder, double play.
2-2.
That's, I love aggressive, but aggressive in the strike zone, and that's something that they've talked to Buster Posey about. Be aggressive in the strike zone, patient outside of it. And Pablo, though, his whole career's been aggressive in and aggressive out of the strike zone.
Guy who's a free agent at the end of the year. It's going to be fascinating to see whether the Giants want to retain him and offer him a big lucrative deal. At his best, he's really good, but his weight has been an issue, and he's had his ups and he's had his downs for the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, he had
a couple years ago where he wasn't even on the playoff roster.
First in 2010,
and
then in 2012
he was
the MVP.
One of the reasons why they won the World Series. Yeah, and then
MVP of the
series
World
against
Series.
Detroit.
3 home runs in game 1, 2 of them off Justin Verlander. A bouncer to the left side. To second, one on to first, not in time. So 2 outs after the fielder's choice by the Panda.
And here's the situation he got himself. Brad Osmus is coming out to make a pitching change. I guess he figured that was enough.
So 5 2/3 for Lobstein, and he will leave with the lead. Al Albuquerque is going to make his way into the game for Detroit. The 3rd major league start for Lobstein is a good one, and he'll get an appreciative round of applause here at Comerica. Tigers lead the Giants. Non-stop action, heart-pounding excitement, historic performances. Don't miss the 2014 postseason beginning September the 30th. Follow every Major League Baseball game with MLB.com at bat for your mobile device. Get scores, stats, highlights, live audio, and more. Text at bat to 31826 or visit MLB.com for details. The new pitcher is Al Albuquerque. His 64th appearance of the season, 3-1 with a 2.68 ERA, a 1.99 ERA over his last 45 appearances. And pinch hitting for Adam Duvall is the left-handed batter, Travis Ishikawa, for the Giants. And a breaking ball in for a strike. Quickly 0-2.
Well, it makes the manager look very smart when you bring in a guy out of the bullpen and Al Albuquerque and he quickly jumps up 0-2 on a pinch hitter. Of course, he's smart anyway. Ivy Leaguer.
To center field, deep, but playable for Kelly. And that'll end the inning. To the bottom of the 6th, still 3-1 Tigers. ESPN, presented by Taco Bell. Comerica Park, downtown Detroit. Tigers 3, Giants 1. And Ishikawa will stay in the game to play first base after pinch hitting for Duvall. Which leads us to J.D. Martinez leading off the inning for the Tigers. He is grounded out and had an infield hit. All 3 runs off Tim Hudson, scored in the 3rd. An RBI single for Torrey Hunter and a 2-run homer for Miguel Cabrera.
You want to know the difference between a veteran pitcher and a young, inexperienced one?
Yep.
The inexperienced one, they got guys up in the bullpen in the 5th inning with a lead. And the veteran guy who's given up 3 runs in 5 innings, they ain't even thought about calling down there yet.
He's earned some trust, huh?
Yes, that's what it is. But I tell you what, he keeps hanging that breaking ball like he did to Cabrera, and that one right there that J.D. Martinez didn't swing at. That's a pitch he hasn't commanded all night, that slow breaking ball.
And that one will sneak through. Second hit of the night for Martinez. And just as you say that he's earned the right, just now the bullpen is going to start getting loose. Right-hander George Cantos and left-hander Javier Lopez.
And this is a situation where, you know, the sinker ball's great to get a double play, but like he said, it's stealing bases. And J.D. Martinez last time on first base stole on the first pitch.
Hudson has gotten 1 double play already tonight. That was off the bat of Cabrera back in the 1st. Kelly, the center fielder, has singled and stolen a base and also walked. So he's at 96 now, and it's been a while since he went over 100. Back to the last start of July the 29th. He is pitching with an extra day's rest coming into this start. Out in front of Kelly, no balls, 2 strikes with Martinez at first. And a bouncer to second. There's 1 and 2. The Giants turn a 4-6-3 double play.
There's a difference between getting ahead in the account in the at bat or pitching from behind. Pitching ahead in the count, he made Kelly be a little more aggressive. That sinker just out enough to have Kelly hit, not be able to pull it into that hole. But you see Panic right there, the quick feet, the nice feed to Crawford. Of course, we know Crawford has a strong throwing arm, and got that good enough feed from Panic that he didn't. J.D. Martinez couldn't be bear down on him and take him out into left field.
And with all the sinkers he throws and all the ground balls that he gets, you would imagine he gets a fair number of double plays, and he's up to 17 now on the season. Castellanos has grounded out and struck out. Of the 17 outs recorded tonight by Hudson, 11 of them have come on the ground. Lopez looks ready if needed out there in the bullpen. Avila, a left-handed batter, is on deck.
Well, you have ever seen anyone warm up quite like that?
You know, lefties are different.
Oh boy. And you are?
Lefty.
Thank you.
2-2. Madison Bumgarner, Ryan Vogelsong, two other members of the San Francisco rotation. Jake Peavy talked about him when we had him on a little bit earlier, that Bumgarner doesn't get enough credit for the kind of season that he had. If it weren't for Kershaw, Bumgarner would be getting a whole lot more credit because he has had a sensational year.
It's going to be tough to be the best pitcher in the National League West as long as Kershaw's out there. But Bumgarner's trying to put himself into that category.
197 innings already, 199 strikeouts to just 39 walks, and tied for the National League lead in wins with 17. Kershaw's just kind of lapped the field when it comes to the Cy Young this year. And he missed the first, 5 weeks?
Yeah, he made that first start in Australia. And in the back. And, you know, we heard rumors that he could be done for the year. Well, if he's done for the year, I believe day one of spring training, if I'm done that, I'm going to whack him in the back with a bat.
Johnny Cueto's also got 17 wins, so 3 of them. And Adam Wainwright picked up his 17th win today, a complete game 7 hitter for Adam Wainwright. The Cardinals win again. They've won 8 out of 9. They beat Milwaukee 9-1. The Brewers have lost 11 of 12. They have gone from leading the NL Central to just scratching and clawing to try to stay in the wild card race in what seems like a heartbeat. Fly ball to left field, but it'll stay in the yard. Blanco makes the catch, and that will end the inning. End of 6. Tigers 3, Giants 1. Presented by Taco Bell is brought to you by Nissan, innovation that excites. Xerox, the company that simplifies the way work gets done. And Smirnoff, please drink responsibly. Nice night here in Detroit. We go to the 7th inning. The Tigers try to salvage the final game of this series. They're up 3-1. trying to not lose any ground to Kansas City and pick up some ground on Seattle, the team in front of them in the wild card race. The Mariners lost to Texas today 1-0. Kansas City defeated the Yankees 2-0. And Kansas City is here for the beginning of a 3-game series starting tomorrow night. You can see the Wednesday night game here on ESPN. Joaquin Arias facing Al Albuquerque, and a base hit through the left side. Arias is 2 for 3 tonight, and now 15 for his last 30.
Coverage of the WNBA Finals continues Tuesday on ESPN at 9. Elena Delle Donne and the Chicago Sky take the court against Brittany Griner and the Phoenix Mercury in Game 2. The WNBA Finals 2014, presented by Boost Mobile, Tuesday at 9 on ESPN.
That was good.
Love women's basketball.
Good. You love the WNBA. You know Elena Delle Donne.
I know Elena,
right.
yeah.
And she's playing hurt right
She's
now.
got a bad back. Yeah, she only played 10 minutes today. Actually, the clinching game to get into the finals, she only played like 3 or 4 minutes and set out the rest of the game, I believe.
Big games today for Diana Taurasi and Candice Dupree.
19 points, 11 assists for Taurasi. Candice Dupree, 26. Brittany Griner, 12 points, 8 blocked shots. So we got to Chicago Sky has to kind of figure their way around that.
So Phoenix takes game 1 of the best of 5. The batter is Gregor Blanco, who has struck out and doubled and scored. Scoring the only run of the night for the Giants. Fashionable and functional.
It is a nice night. This is my kind of weather here.
Just a hint of autumn, just a little not too hot. Yeah, you're anti-heat.
Oh, yeah, boy. I mean,
vehemently anti-heat.
Those people with my build
yes,
are.
Heat and you do not get along.
No.
It says 73 degrees up on the scoreboard.
Yeah,
that's right in your wheelhouse.
That's right where I want to be.
Yeah.
Although 10 or 15 more pounds, 50 would be nice too.
Albuquerque on the mound for the Tigers. The Tiger bullpen has been better in the second half of the season than it was in the first half, but overall it has been a weakness of this team. I think the feeling on this team going into the year was the rotation's going to be great, and will the bullpen be good enough? The rotation has not been great. It's been okay, and the bullpen has not been good, as you can see. Joe Nathan's had his troubles as the closer. Again, he's been better in the second half than the first, but still has not had a typical Joe Nathan kind of season. Runner is going, and it's pulled foul. Behind Nathan, you've got Albuquerque, you've got Jabba Chamberlain, you've got Phil Cope, the veteran left-hander. I mean, you've got some guys who have been there and done that. They're also hoping to get somebody back fairly soon to help bolster that bullpen, Buster.
Exactly right, and that's Joaquin Soria, who they acquired from the Texas Rangers before the deadline, but he went out on August 9th with an oblique injury. He's expected to throw a simulated game on Monday, and he could pitch this week if tomorrow goes okay.
And that would be a great addition if he's healthy.
Well, it's a huge addition because now that takes care of the 8th inning. And you can mix in, you know, Coke, Jabba, Al Albuquerque in the 6th and 7th innings and turn it over to whoever. You know, I would imagine they're going to keep Joe Nathan as closer, so Soria would be the 8th inning guy, or vice versa, whichever way Brad Ausmus decides to go. But you talk about lengthening the lineup. You know, they can lengthen their bullpen with when Joaquin Soria comes back.
So let me ask you this big picture. Here are the Tigers, 77 and 65, 2.5 back of Kansas City. Has this been a disappointing season?
Yes.
Okay. And you want to think about that for a second?
No.
What has gone wrong, and is there time for them, as the runner goes and is fouled off again, is there time for them to fix what's wrong and be the team that a lot of people thought they would be?
Well, the problems they have to fix are Justin Verlander. They have to fix him, and can that be fixed this year? And is Anibal Sanchez coming back?
Right.
You know, yes. If they go into the postseason, they play a wild card. If they can set up for Scherzer, you got to like your chances. Scherzer against whoever, well, King Felix or whoever, but you know, you like your chances with Scherzer. But then what happens in a 5-game series if you only get Scherzer once? Price has not been good in the postseason in his career. It doesn't say he won't be this year if they get in, but you know, you got Price in game 1. If he struggles, then what?
Full count.
Well, he was running every other pitch. You might as well run this one too. 3-2. Looks like Blanco's seeing the ball well off of him, off of Albuquerque, so you let him go. The risk here you're taking is if Blanco lines out, you got a double play. If Arias takes off.
He is running, and it's bounced foul. Arias is getting his leg work in today, isn't he? What's that, 4, maybe 5 times he's gone down there.
We were playing in Colorado, and I was on first. Dave Hollins hitting, and it was a 3-2, 2 outs, so I had to run. And after about 4 or 5 foul balls in that thin air, I came back. Mel Roberts says, "Crookie, 3-2, 2 outs, you're running." I'm like, "No, not this time. I'm staying right here." But you have to. It's 3-2 and 2 outs. I said, "There's no rule." And he hit one in the gap. I had to try to score. I thought,
did you?
Well, they call it a slide, but it was really just a stick because there was no momentum when I hit home.
But you were safe.
I was safe, and
All
Darren
right.
Dalton actually had to help me up and help me into the dugout.
Oh boy.
Hey, it ain't Colorado.
He wants to just stay there.
Yeah. Yeah, this is when you hope, like the manager, pitching coach comes out and talks to the pitcher. Or, you know, you can feign a hamstring and have the trainer come out and give you a look.
I think Cabrera feels sorry for him.
Yeah, I don't
Chat
think
him up
so.
a little bit.
I think they're laughing.
Going again. And it's ball 4. So first and second with nobody out. For the number 9 hitter, Brandon Crawford.
Well, pitching coach Jeff Jones coming out here to talk to Albuquerque, but you know, now earlier today when we were talking to Brad Osmus in our meeting, he left quite quickly, which I blamed you for, but then I realized they had to come out on the field. They were working on bunt plays, which at this point in September, you would never think we're going to work on our bunt plays. But this is a good situation right here because I had almost bet my bottom dollar that Brandon Crawford's going to bunt with no outs in first and second. Here they are right here working on them. I mean, that's what you want with your first baseman with a bad ankle. Let's work on bunt plays. But you know, this is a situation where normally you'd want the third baseman to field it, but with the bad ankle of Miguel Cabrera, you might want to. You have options now. Bunt it to third hard, so because Castellanos has to come in and field, or bunt it to Cabrera. Unbelievable.
Tim Flannery, the third base coach, relaying the signs. Crawford did not show bunt on the first pitch.
Surprised that they're not bunting here.
Meanwhile, Albuquerque can't find the strike zone.
This might be a situation where they don't want to turn him around to bunt to make him throw a strike. Sometimes if you turn around to bunt, you see a lot of guys, they bunt at bad pitches. And this is a situation, this ball better be in a thimble for Crawford to swing. And he throws a breaking ball. How do you do that?
Right-hander Jim Johnson has joined left-hander Blaine Hardy in the Tigers pen. The Giants are threatening. 2 on, nobody out, down by 2 in the top of the 7th. Big swing and a miss, and another slider. 2-2. Arias at second. Blanco at first. Nobody out. And a fly ball to center field. Kelly setting up. Arias tagging. He's headed for third. The throw will come into second. And the end result is runners on the corners with 1 out. And here comes Brad Ausmus. He wants the left-hander. So Hardy will come in. The top of the order is coming up for the Giants as they threaten here in the 7th. First and third, 1 out for the Giants. After a couple of interesting things, the lack of a bunt attempt by the Giants, and then the decision made out in center field by Don Kelly.
Yeah, shocked that Brandon Crawford wasn't bunting, but Brad Ausmus told us that Don Kelly's not going to hurt you no matter where you play, and he doesn't make mistakes. You see Arias tagging up the fly ball to center field. He could have tried to throw to third to get Arias, but no. Let me throw it to second. We have a 2-run lead. Arias runs. Okay, if he scores, it's 3-2. But I keep the double play in order by not throwing it through to third base. Smart play by Don Kelly. And if we can get a double play right here out of Angel Pagan, then Brad Ausmus is going to think what a smart man I am for putting Don Kelly in center field. Most guys are so tempted to try to just, I'm going to try to throw everyone out, but
left-hander Blaine Hardy into the game. He's had a couple of different stints with the Tigers this year, beginning with his major league debut back in the middle of June. And has a 1.67 ERA in his last 24 outings. Facing Pagan, the switch hitter, who turns around to bat from the right side. Gordo Kelly, the first base coach for the Giants, with some advice for Gregor Blanco.
Yeah, don't get picked off.
So Pagan, and he almost did get picked off. Man, oh man. And that's one where if Cabrera thought they had him, he probably looks into Ausmus, and they think about a review here, but Cabrera's not doing that.
Well, they just signaled for Castellanos to go in there and look. Ooh, that's close. To go in there and talk to Hardy, and then now I think they want to watch it a couple times. You see, looks like Brad Ausmus is going to come out and challenge this thing.
And the crowd with a big reaction, applauding the fact that they're going to challenge it. So it will be Mark Wegner, the home plate umpire, and the crew chief Mike Winters, who's at first, who made the call. Over to have a look. And the crowd is looking at it on the video scoreboard here in Detroit.
That view we have right there, you can't see it because of the foot of Miguel Cabrera, whether Blanco fingers are on the base or not.
I don't know that there's enough to overturn this. I mean, he doesn't tag him until there. It's pretty close.
I tell you what, though, it looks like his hand is coming up and it's not on the base. Watch how it's hard to see there, but it looked like his right hand, his fingers were going up when Cabrera was tagging him on the forearm. See how his fingers are coming up right there? Watch him when he in between his legs. Is Cabrera's right heel. You see how they're still up? I don't know.
Is it on the base?
That's.
But if it's inconclusive, then the call stands.
He's safe.
So
and
safe.
Let's move forward. But this could be one of those that they look at a few times before they can get a definitive. I mean, this is an oh boy.
It's a big one, given the situation of the game, and safe is the call.
And that's the disadvantage of having a right-handed first baseman as opposed to a left-handed fielding first baseman. Lefty can just drop it on him. The righty has to catch it and bring it back across his body. But if I'm Blanco, I don't think I'm getting out there too much further.
So Blanco's at first, Arias at third, one out. Angel Pagan the batter. 1 for 3 on the night. Drove in a run with an infield hit back in the 5th. There with a strike, 1-1. Three in the 3rd for the Tigers, a run back in the 5th for the Giants. San Francisco threatening here in the 7th.
I think if you're the Giants, you got to feel good if you could put one across right here, make it a 3-2 game. Even if you don't score any more in the 7th, the way that, even though like you said, the Tigers bullpen has been better in the second half, it still hasn't been fantastic. I feel good about maybe scoring a run or two off that bullpen coming 8th and 9th.
Runs inside, ball 2. If it gets to Posey, who's 2 batters away, you got to believe it's going to be Jim Johnson, the right-hander who's up in the pen, the former closer for the Orioles, who went out to Oakland and just had a dismal time, wound up with Detroit eventually, and just has not been able to get that. You talk about a turbo sinker. This guy was good, but has not been able to really find that. Up front, 2-2.
Angel Pagan 2-1 was looking for a fastball middle in and trying to put his team ahead with a 3-run homer. Instead, Blaine Hardy threw him that changeup and saw Pagan how far out in front of him he was. And now here's where the veteran dials it back in and thinks, all right, now I got to try up the middle and the other way.
And the curveball's hit just foul up the 3rd baseline.
But see, that's what happens, Dan, when you're a hitter and you're thinking up the middle the other way. A slow breaking ball like that, you're going to be out in front, and that's the one you pull. I guarantee if that was a fastball in, that you see goes right past Arias, and definitely a foul ball. But if that was a fastball in, might break his bat.
Ooh, just missed inside. Let's have a look at K-zone. and it's inside.
Well, the old veteran wouldn't let that one pass. The strikeout looking with first and third. This is where Hardy could go change up, down and away, or away. Now that he's already established in with the breaking ball and in with the fastball.
Any chance Blanco's running?
Well, if he is, he better hope that Pagan doesn't strike out because he can't get a good jump.
Yeah.
You're not trying to steal the base. You're doing this to stay out of a double play. But I think, yes, he's going to run. I think that's Bruce Bochy and the aggressive style.
Not going, and Pagan lifts it in the air to shallow right field. In comes Torrey Hunter to make the catch. And the throw will be cut. It was too shallow for Arias to risk it. 2 down.
You remember, Dan, at 2-2 pitch, he threw a breaking ball for ball 3, then he threw ball 2, and then a fastball in, and then you see Pagan right there, the changeup away, even though it was up. You saw Pagan's hip because he established in the pitch before with the fastball that was close, that made the count 3-2, and he throws that changeup. Pagan's hip opens up, and he hits that weak fly ball to right field. It couldn't score him.
So here we have maybe the key at bat of the night right now. Joe Panik is up. The rookie second baseman, first and third, 2 down against the lefty Blaine Hardy. If Panik can do something, Posey's going to come up. Probably Johnson will come in. So this is a huge situation here as Hardy tries to get Panik.
Well, this is the way both teams drew it up. And, mid-September, early September, pennant races for both teams. Both teams chasing division leaders. And Blaine Hardy's in the key matchup against Joe Panik.
It's not a 25-man sport.
It's a beautiful game.
Teams are using 40, 50. This year, even a couple teams have, I think Texas used 60 this year. And by the way, the sudden departure of Ron Washington causing big news. And I know we both send our thoughts to Ron Washington. That whatever the personal matter is that it is something that can be dealt with. I mean, baseball's a better place with Ron Washington in it.
Yeah, we miss him. We're going to miss him. Going in there, talking to him.
Popped him up. Avila has room. Inning over. What a job by Hardy, getting 2 huge outs in the 7th inning.
Ignore the scoreboard. Forget about the standings. You can only do one. Ignore the scoreboard. Forget about the standings. You can only do one thing tonight.
She is gone!
The only thing that counts in September. Win. Baseball's pennant race on ESPN.
On to the bottom of the 7th here at Comerica Park, with the Tigers still leading the Giants 3-1. In this all-important game, which affects so many different races, let's take a look around baseball at some of the bigger stories from the last couple of days. Derek Jeter was honored today at Yankee Stadium. Of course, he's still got some home games to go, but they chose today as the day to honor him. All kinds of former Yankees teammates of his coming back in his honor. Nelson Cruz, a monster day. 2 home runs, 7 RBIs in a 7-5 win over Tampa Bay. The A's lost again. They have lost 18 out of 26. Never mind keeping touch with the Angels. Are their playoff chances in jeopardy? Seattle lost as well, but Detroit is the next team trying to close the gap. And St. Louis won again today. They beat Milwaukee 9-1. So St. Louis, they're 4.5 up on Pittsburgh, 5 up on Milwaukee now in the National League Central. Here's the veteran left-hander Javier Lopez to face Alex Avila to begin the bottom of the 7th. A lot of people watching tonight for the Giants also would have an interest in the A's. Bay Area folks, 8-18 in their last 26. This was a team that a few weeks ago, best record in baseball. They had John Lester. They could miss the playoffs right now. They're
scoring a ton of runs.
Yep. There are 20 games left for the A's. And as mentioned, they're 2 ahead of Seattle for the first wild card spot. And then Detroit's trying to catch Seattle. Right now, there's Detroit, 3 back of Oakland. Oakland, to put it another way, is only 3 games in the playoffs right now, if you will, with 20 to go. And they've got all kinds of games with the Mariners and the Angels left.
And we said it last week, and this is a theme that will be continued on. I think the last team you would want to play in a wild card game, if rotations can be set, would be the Seattle Mariners.
Yep.
Having to face King Felix.
Full count on Avila.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, it was a concern when they traded for John Lester and they traded Yoenis Cespedes, that what will become of their offense? Will they be able to score? Will they be able to score enough to win consistently? And
Lopez gets Avila.
And you can see now that that's not the case. And
on the flip side, from the Angels' perspective, they lost the guy who most would say was their #1 pitcher this year, Garrett Richards, and they've gone on an absolute tear. They're 87-55 right now, and running away with not only the American League West, but quite easily now have the best record in baseball.
And nothing against Clayton Kershaw, Justin Verlander, but that's why, to me, pitchers and MVPs are, you thought, okay, if you could trade a #1 for your 4th hitter, would you do it? And a lot of people saw, absolutely, we'll take the pitching. Well, what's it do to your offense? Because when you take away your cleanup hitter, Yoenis Cespedes, it affects 1 through 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 in your lineup because he's not there anymore. So now you're asking a guy who's not a cleanup hitter, you're going to bat cleanup, we need you to hit for power or hit for more power. And it just, things change in your lineup when that guy's out.
Romine reaches, waiting for the scoring if it's an infield hit or an error, but either way, it's an infield hit is the scoring. Lopez is out. Contos, the right-hander, is coming in for the Giants. Bottom of the 7th, non-stop action, heart-pounding excitement, historic performances. Don't miss the 2014 postseason beginning September 30th. Follow every Major League Baseball game with MLB.com at bat for your mobile device. Get scores, stats, highlights, live audio, and more. Text at bat to 31826 or visit MLB.com for details. 1 on, 1 out, bottom of the 7th. The new pitcher for the Giants, right-hander George Contos, who has split his season between AAA and the big leagues. 30 appearances at AAA. This is 19th with the Giants. What a couple of scoreless innings here on Friday night. Top of the order, Ian Kinsler, 0 for 3. Stolen a base earlier tonight as he draws a throw.
Yeah, and the reason why Contos held the ball so long is, you mentioned, see that fake move right there by Romine, and Contos like, all right, settle down, I'm going to hold it, wait for time to be called, go back to your base, and all's good. Then when he tried to throw over, Romine had another little false step getting back to first, so he's runnerish.
And he's running. And he's in there. Second stolen base of the night, and the 4th as a team for the Tigers.
Normally when you get a fake start and then a stutter step to get back on a throw over, you would think a guy wouldn't be running, but Romine's like, the heck with it, I'm still going. And you saw this, I don't know if that's the swim move or his left hand just didn't get out there. Watch his left hand. Just kind of didn't get out there, but a little bit of a swim move. But a great jump by Romine and another tough pitch for Buster Posey to have to throw on. Another pitch down in the strike zone.
Tigers just 1 for 6 tonight with runners in scoring position.
Or down out of the strike zone.
A few Giants fans here in Detroit. Two-0 breaking ball in for a strike.
You understand that there's a reason why they put coaches boxes there. That little white half or three-quarter triangle thing over there, but apparently it doesn't mean anything, does it? Look where Dave Clark, the third base coach for the Detroit Tigers, is. And he steps back any farther, Brad Ausmus could pull him in the dugout.
And another breaking ball over the inside corner for a strike, 2-2.
And two reasons why he's there. It gives, on a base hit, it gives Romine a better view of him, waving him or stopping him. But it also keeps him out of harm's way, because not that Kinsler can't get out in front of one, but you're more apt to get hit when you're in that box than you are where Dave Clark is.
Left center field. And it's getting all the way to the fence. Romine will score easily on the double by Kinsler. It's 4-1.
Seventh double of the year for Ian Kinsler, and you see the pitch, a slider by Contos that just didn't get down in the strike zone, and you feel lucky it's just a double. That pitch, it hit off the bat of Ian Kinsler, but the great thing is Dave Clark doesn't have to move.
There's Torrey Hunter, 3 for 3.
You see him now. He's getting in Romine's view. He's getting in his view. Now you can see me. Now you're going. And then it's just, okay, Kinsler stopping at second. Let me get back to where I was.
Is that something you feel should be enforced?
No.
Where the coaches are?
Well, I mean, if they're making them wear helmets for safety, which they should, I understand that. They should negate those coaches by. It's not like he's getting signs. He has a worse angle getting a sign from Buster Posey right there where he isn't, as opposed to being in the box.
As you said, he's just there. If Hunter comes up with a base hit, he's just there so Kinsler can round the bag and get as long a look at him as possible before he gives him the go or the stay.
Yep. And it keeps him out of harm's way of a foul ball. I mean, Torrey Hunter would have to almost hit one behind him to hit Dave Clark right now.
Chases a fastball up, and it's 1-2. Looming on deck, Miguel Cabrera, who's already homered in this game. Chopper back to the mound, and the Giants will take the sure out at first. 2 down now as Kinsler comes to third. Now Cabrera.
Well, Miguel Cabrera got this hanging breaking ball from Tim Hudson. It just didn't have any bite to it, down and out of the strike zone. He tried to get him to chase it, hung. He hung one out there into the left field seats, and normally this is a situation where you don't even think about it. You put him on, trying to get the next hitter. Problem is, the next hitter has been their best hitter this year, Victor Martinez, and this is why he will get pitched to. Still stressed.
Ball one.
You think what he was thinking right there was, boy, this is a tough situation we're in, or I wonder how many bags of seeds I've eaten in my career.
Well, he's on your list of managers you'd like to play for if you were to make a comeback.
Yeah, he'd Buck or Tito.
Yeah.
Be top 3. Couldn't go wrong with either one of the 3.
Run in for the Tigers this inning, looking to add to their lead, up 4-1 with a runner at third, 2 down for Miguel Cabrera.
You don't see that often. A 1-0 pitch. He took a fastball down the middle.
And a base hit into left field will bring in another run. It's been one heck of a week for Miguel Cabrera, bad ankle and all. #100th RBI on the season for Miguel Cabrera.
See how excited he is about it. He is asking for the ball, but here you see right there, Contos tries to throw that fastball up and in, and that's the one right there I thought maybe he would have a pass at, but Contos again tried to come back with the fastball, running in on his hands, and when he's locked in like he is, you just don't throw strikes and hope he gets himself out.
So Contos is out. Jeremy Affeldt is on his way into the game, and we'll step aside while the left-hander warms up. Tigers now up 5-1. The park, the Tigers have added a couple of runs, now lead the Giants 5-1 in the bottom of the 7th inning. Included this inning was Miguel Cabrera's 100th RBI on the season. Picked up 98 and 99 on the home run earlier tonight. Picked up 100 on this base hit through the left side to score Ian Kinsler. And as you will see momentarily as we show you this replay, acutely aware of how many RBIs he has. I want that ball. So the ball goes out of play to commemorate another milestone for Cabrera. 100 or more RBIs, Crucky, for the 11th consecutive season. And look at the company he's keeping.
How many years has he been playing? His first year was 2003.
So this is his 12th. He came up middle of the season.
How's
kind of
that?
May, June-ish.
Pretty much every year.
Every full year he's driven in 100.
And keeps great company, too. And on those lists he's starting to amass throughout his career.
Here's Jeremy Affeldt to turn Victor Martinez around. Martinez is 0 for 3. For the first 2.5 months of the season, Victor Martinez's home runs were in a pretty good race with Victor Martinez's strikeouts, which is pretty impressive stuff.
Yes.
Now the strikeouts have taken a bit of a lead, but still he's hit 30 home runs this year, and he has struck out 39 times. He could win the batting title. He's hitting .333. He entered play today, second in the American League behind Jose Altuve of Houston. So he's second in the league in hitting. He's got 30 homers, and he's only struck out 39 times the whole season. Right center and well hit. And it's getting all the way to the wall. Cabrera laboring, getting the wave around third, and is going to score. On a long RBI double, and now Cabrera noticeably limping as Martinez picks up RBI number 95, and it's 6-1.
A lot of interesting things right there happen on this play right here as Victor Martinez with 2 outs hits one in the gap. There you see Victor. Ho-hum, another double. There you see it, the head stays right in the center of his body, but look at Miggy, 2 outs. I mean, he is off to the races. And he's looking at Dave Clark thinking, okay, stop me, stop me, stop me. Oh boy, he's sending me.
It looked like to me the way the relay throw came in from the outfield as if they had conceded the run and were throwing to third to stop the triple, but because it was Cabrera and he was limping so badly, if they try to get him at the plate, I think they get him at the plate.
I think Pagan just overshot the first cutoff man, which ironically it looked like it was Crawford that went out as the first cutoff man, and Panic was the one backing him up, which normally on a ball in right center field, the center fielder would be the first cutoff man with a shortstop behind him. But
I wonder if Mickey's done too, if he doesn't come out and play first anymore now that it's 6-1 and he just hit. And
yeah, you wonder 5-1. I mean, I know you don't have 100% faith in your bullpen, but 5-1 with only 6 outs to get, well, 6-1 now. You wonder 5-1 why they wouldn't have pinch ran for him at first base. Like you said, Don Kelly has a glove for every position. He could run in there at first base.
Yeah.
Put whoever in center, Rajay Davis.
Intentional walk to J.D. Martinez brings up Don Kelly. And that ball is well foul.
And see, that's the one. If it's lower, could hit Dave Clark if it was a right-handed hitter, because he pulled that behind him.
Clark, by the way, when Cabrera was up, different situation. There was a runner at third, and it's Cabrera, was way down the line, 25 feet past the coach's box. Now he's about 35 feet on the home plate side of the coach's box as he was earlier. Kelly tonight has singled, walked, and grounded into a double play.
Well, there's not much coaching to do at third base when there's 2 outs. Runner on third and 2 outs. I'm assuming the runner would know that if he hits it, you got to run.
So 3 more this inning for the Tigers. Now up 6-1. Big curveball for a strike, 1-2. Cabrera with 3 RBIs on the night, 100 on the season. Remember, the Kansas City Royals come here to Detroit to begin a 3-game series tomorrow with the Tigers. The Tigers still have 6 games left with the Royals, just as the Giants have 6 games left with the Dodgers. And now probably checking on Cabrera, trying to get a feel for whether he wants to go back out there.
You can see he's really having a lot of dialogue with the trainer.
And a swing and a miss to get Kelly and end the inning. Well, the Tigers add on, scoring 3, including 1 on an RBI double by Victor Martinez, as he gets in on the fun for Detroit tonight. Although he made his buddy hobble and huff and puff around the bases, all for a good cause, though. 6-1 Detroit. John Kruk, Buster Olney, Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. Changes, as Krucky predicted. Don Kelly, have glove, will travel, is now at first base. Rajay Davis takes over in center. Miguel Cabrera's out of the game. Jim Johnson is the new pitcher. And Buster Posey takes ball 1. So you were saying, you know, should they run for Cabrera when they're up 5-1? They don't. He scores. They're up 6-1. Talk to him, see how he's doing, and then don't send him back out on defense.
But that's the risk you take. So many risks in that play by letting him run. Now, the same thing if Victor strikes out, there's no running involved. But Victor hits one in the gap, and now all of a sudden he has to run. I think if the Giants execute the cutoff throw from Angel Pagan, if he didn't overthrow the first cutoff man, they might have had a play of Miguel Cabrera at home plate, and then would he have to slide into the catcher? There's just a lot of risks you're taking on that play by keeping him out there.
Three and one, the count on Posey.
But again, if they had a shutdown 8th inning and a definite shutdown 9th inning guy, I'm sure Brad Ausmus would have pinch ran for him, but they don't right now, and every run's imperative, and maybe he didn't think 4 was safe in the 8th and 9th inning.
And there's ball 4 as Johnson walks Posey to begin the inning. We talked a little bit about Johnson last inning. This is a guy who had 51 saves in 2012 and 50 last year with the Orioles, although his 2012 season was better than his 13. But the Orioles traded him. He started the year with Oakland, and he just never got on track with the A's. Never got close. And eventually, the A's designated him for assignment. About 2 weeks later, the Tigers signed him to a minor league deal in early August, let him work out some things briefly down in the minors, and now he is making his 10th appearance with the Tigers, and it has not gone great with Detroit. And it's one of the bigger mysteries around baseball, I think, the last couple of years. What happened to the sinker of Jim Johnson?
Yeah, it's still pretty good velocity, 94, 95. And this is the thing. You got a 5-run lead in the 8th inning, and you bring in a guy to pitch who's a veteran guy. You shouldn't have to be worrying about Phil Cope warming up. And this is one of those things where you have to throw all egos out the door, and Brad Ausmus's got to be ready quick. If he walks Hunter Pence right here, you can't let him stay out there much longer.
Well, Sandoval's a weaker hitter from the right side, so if he walks him, I mean, he might go to Coke right there just to turn Sandoval around. Leadoff walk to Posey, 3-1 on Pence. Ground ball to second, bobbled, and as a result, they're only going to get 1 when they had a chance at 2. There won't be an error charged on the play, but it'll be a fielder's choice, and 4 unassisted on the putout at second.
That's just trying to get out of his glove for the backhand flip to Romine, and Kinsler just didn't ever get it into his hand. And the smart thing is, a lot of young players might have tried to rush another throw to Romine. Kinsler picked it up, calmly steps on second base, knowing that there's no chance of a double play, and not having to risk such a short flip to Romine, who might not pick up the ball good and possibly drop it, take it yourself, and get out of here.
So here's Sandoval. Sandoval's 0 for 3. Came into the game hitting .369 over his last 16 games. And he takes a strike.
You watch Jim Johnson pitch, and it's 95 with movement. It's a mystery.
Runner goes, and the pitch is swung on, hit high in the air down the right field line. Hunter into foul territory, and it's back in the seats.
And if memory serves me correctly, even though he throws with high velocity and movement, Jim Johnson, he's never been a big strikeout guy, I don't think. I know that
you're right.
He's always been never pitched to contact with 95, 96.
Yep.
And that's hard to do as a closer. If you can't strike people out as a closer, and guys put the ball in play, it's, even though back-to-back 50 season saves, longevity's not a big thing apparently.
Breaking ball fouled back. The first year when he had 51 saves, 68 2/3 innings, 41 strikeouts, and then last year 70 1/3, 56 strikeouts.
Yeah, and that's most closers are strikeout an inning, some a little more.
A couple of them a lot more.
Yeah, Kimbrel's like
Chapman.
Kimball's like, and Chapman are like 4 an inning. Don't they strike out like 4 an inning? Pass ball, what the heck? Go on, we'll strike another one out.
Yep.
But yeah, and that's the thing, when you talk to some people in the Orioles organization on why they let him go, is because he doesn't strike out a lot of guys. Balls get put in play, and eventually there's going to come a time where they don't hit him at people, and there's always going to be people on base. Yeah. It's just the game you play. Come on, Dad, try to get this. I got him.
Eventually, Dad is grabbing that. Runner goes. So how about this? Down 6-1, eighth inning, 0-2 pitch, and Bruce Bochy's got him running. He's playing aggressively.
Yeah, but 0-2, and you got an aggressive swinger in Pablo Sandoval,
But is this Sandoval's going to swing? He's going to hit a ground ball off the sinker instead of a double play.
Yeah, but how bad you're going to look if he hits a line drive at someone? It's a double play to end the inning. I mean, if he's stealing the base to stay out of the double play, that's fine, but not 0-2. You know, and Pablo's going to swing. If it doesn't hit him, he's going to swing. Well, that one almost hit him, and he swung. They're still at it. He ain't got it yet.
Dad's being a good sport so far.
Oh, right. Little backhand to the eyeball right there.
Pitching out. Not going.
Wow. We're overthinking this thing a little bit tonight, ain't we? 6-1. Let's pitch out. Eighth inning, losing. We're winning 6-1. Let's pitch out. Hunter Pence running, down 6-1. 0-2 count.
Not going. Swung on, chopped up the first baseline, foul. Think Sandoval's a Giant next year?
Well, let's say, what are the options?
For him or for them?
No, for them.
Buster, what are the options?
Well, the options are they're going to restart talks after this season ends. Remember, the Giants have been really good about keeping their own players, whether it's Aubrey Huff or Hunter Pence or Tim Lincecum after last year. They had talks in spring with Sandoval, but now they're going to have to restart him after the year. And the Giants are expected to give him the qualifying offer.
Pitch up and away, 2-2. And if he got that qualifying offer, Buster, would you expect Sandoval to accept it?
No. He certainly in spring, when they were having negotiations, he was looking for a lot more than the Giants were willing to give up. The big question for the Giants, I think, is going to be the number of years in the contract because of the conditioning issues that you were just talking about.
What are they going to do with all the panda hats?
Runner goes, and the pitch down and in and gets away from Avila. And Pence into second. He'll be credited with a stolen base.
That was a good take, too, by Pablo. Tough to hit that one. It goes between your legs. And we've all swung at him.
The outs at or near the end of a ball game have at times been
Watch his take, though, by Pablo. Look at that. It almost hit him in both feet, but it missed him and gets past, and Hunter Pence was stealing. What a game.
Sent foul. Nobody swings more often at pitches out of the zone, and he does pretty well on pitches out of the zone.
I'm almost willing to bet he's never got a hit off that one.
No.
Though. That one right at his front toe, his front big toe.
And he draws the walk.
See, that's why the Giants should bring him back. He's disciplined.
Jabba Chamberlain has joined Phil Koch, and Jeff Jones is on his way out to the mound again.
Tell you what, for a team that's had a lead pretty much this whole game. Well, they did have a lead the whole game. Jeff Jones made a lot of trips out to these mounds.
More Major League action coming your way this week with a Wednesday doubleheader at 7 Eastern. You'll see the Tigers again here as they host Kansas City, and then you'll see the Giants again as they host Arizona in the 10 o'clock game. And then 1 week from tonight, we'll be at Camden Yards as the first place Baltimore Orioles entertain the New York Yankees. All games also available on Watch ESPN. Tiger fans are used to seeing The outs in the 7th, 8th, 9th being really tough to come by at times. Here's Ishikawa with the runners at first and second, one out. And those 3 runs the Tigers scored in the bottom of the 7th are feeling pretty big right now. Ball 1.
This is where Jim Johnson, you got a 5-run lead. 2 guys on, only 1 out. Travis Ishikawa up. Try to throw 3 pitches down the middle and see what happens. He can't continue to get behind in the count. And I don't care if you're throwing 95 or 100. You keep getting down in the count, someone's going to make you pay at some point.
Well, you talk about games being longer, and we've seen just about every reason for it here this half inning. Deep counts, inability to throw strikes, pitching coach to the mound, catcher to the mound, throws to first.
We're in that era of baseball where a lot of guys can't figure it out themselves. So someone has to tell them. And that's a trip to the mound by the catcher, by the pitching coach, by a hitter having to talk to someone, third base coach coming down and talking and all. That's just. We're so dependent now on, from Little League on up, of here's the coach telling you what you have to do every pitch. Figure it out for yourselves. Big league pitcher. You can't tell me you can't throw a ball for a strike every other pitch.
He's not close.
No.
Crowd's starting to get on him now. The change in the results for Jim Johnson over the last couple of years have been startling. A guy just trying to reclaim a major league career of any significance after saving over 100 games the last 2 years.
It don't matter what you do in this game, no matter how good you are, no matter how long you've played, you're going to lose your confidence at some point.
Now he gets the ground ball, and they'll get the out at first. So 2 down, and the runners advance to second and third. That'll bring up Arias, a hot hitter, 2 for 3 tonight, 15 for his last 30. Koch and Chamberlain out of the bullpen. And the next 2 scheduled batters for the Giants, if the inning continues, are both left-handed batters. So that's why Chamberlain standing down a little bit now, and Koch still up on the mound, because he would likely be the guy called upon if this continues.
This is why some people don't want to manage. 6-1 game, and you've used 9 million people in your bullpen, and you're warming 2 more up.
He's thrown 27 pitches this inning.
That's right. This is his only inning.
Ground ball to third, and he gets out of it. Walk 2 through 28 pitches, but didn't give up a run. 6-1 Tigers going to the bottom of the 8th. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is presented by the new Dollar Cravings menu at Taco Bell, Live Mas, and in part by the makers of One A Day Men's, the official multivitamin of MLB, specially formulated for men. And Scott Trade, our passion is to power yours. Bottom 8 in Detroit. Tigers lead the Giants 6-1. And out of the Giants' pen comes an arm that they're pretty excited about. Hunter Strickland, a 25-year-old right-hander who spent most of the year at Double-A, where in 35 2/3 innings he struck out 48, walked 4, and he has been clocked as high as 100 miles an hour.
How old did you say he was?
25.
How did it take him so long to get here if you're throwing 100? We got to talk to Bochy.
Tommy John surgery slowed him down.
1 year, year and a half.
They like this guy, and
they should.
This is a guy who, if the regular 7th, 8th inning guys can't pitch for a day, if they've been overused and they're up a run or two, this is a guy coming in.
You talk about it late in the game. Late in the game, strikeouts are important, and if Strickland can offer that up to Bruce Bochy and the Giants, then that's the thing you know about Bruce Bochy. He doesn't care how young you are, how much inexperienced you are. If you can do the job, you're going to be out there.
Nick Castellanos dials it up on the first pitch, fouls it back. Castellanos tonight 0 for 3, a ground out, a strikeout, and a fly ball. And the slider at 84. Tigers out hitting the Giants 12-5, leading 6-1 as they bat here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Strike 3 called. Another name out of that Giants pen has a familiar sound to it because his last name is Bochy. Bruce Bochy's son, Brett Bochy, is a September call-up for the San Francisco Giants, a guy who pitched at Kansas and spent most of this year at AAA. And we could see when we talked to Bruce Bochy about Brett, he started answering the question in manager mode, but he morphed into dad mode about halfway through the answer. And Brett Bochy has not pitched in a game yet. He has warmed up in a game, but he hasn't pitched in a game yet. But you got to believe at some point, if they've got a fairly sizable lead or deficit at some point in September, that he's going to get him in there.
He said it's going to be very emotional to hand him the ball. And of course, the nice guy that I am, I asked him, I said, well, what's it going to be like if you have to go out and take it from him? And he said, well, that's where the manager comes out. And I'm going to say, you just cost me my job by stinking up the place.
And you're grounded.
And you're grounded, yeah. No dinner for you tonight.
There's Brett. 27 years old. Contract purchase from AAA Fresno on Tuesday. He was a 20th round pick back in 2010. Giants fans saw this before. Felipe Alou managed Moises Alou. San Francisco has mentioned the 9th father-son combination. But Bruce referred to Brett. Wow. And Strickland overpowers Avila. Bruce referred to Brett as an overachiever. He said, I never expected him to be a closer in college. I never expected him to have a chance to turn pro. I never expected him to be wearing a major league uniform.
He was actually, after his minor league season, was headed back to Kansas to go back to school. And that's when Father Bruce had to call and say, well, you might want to make other plans. And that kind of let the cat out of the bag as far as Brett goes. And then he understood, oh, my gosh, I'm going to the big leagues.
Here's Andrew Romine.
He told it so eloquently, though, didn't he? Strickland looks good so far.
Yes, he does. If the Giants lose this game, they'll drop 3 back of the Dodgers. And a ground ball to short to win the inning. And we want to apologize. That was Eric Cordier we were showing, not Brett Bochy. We're trying to find Brett Bochy out there.
Well, you apologize. I didn't get it wrong. We'll be back in a minute.
Old at Jack Murphy Stadium. He was playing catch on the sideline before the season opener, and he had a throw get away, and it drilled then Mets manager Bobby Valentine right in the leg, and it really hurt Bobby, and Brett got out of there so fast. Now, I asked Brett about it yesterday. He didn't remember it at all, but who knows? Maybe he was just denying.
But your Bobby remembers it.
No. I don't know if Bobby does or not.
I think so.
He might.
Here's Phil Koch. Matt Duffy is the pinch hitter. Koch has been pitching better of late for the Tigers. In the last 6 weeks or so, since July the 26th, an ERA of 2. And a guy who, if the Tigers are going to make it to October, do some damage in October, this guy's going to he'll be asked to get some left-handed batters out in important situations.
Yeah, and you remember a couple years ago he assumed the closer role in the postseason.
Everybody else was on fumes at the time, right?
Yeah, and he did well. But, you know, you think about who some of the lefties he might have to face down the stretch. Michael Brantley, you know, let's go get him. He only strikes out once every 200 at bat. So
fly ball, right field corner, and a foul ball. Alex Gordon.
Alex Gordon.
Chamberlain up just in case.
Is nothing safe?
I mean, but can you blame Brad
No,
Osmus for the way
absolutely.
things have gone this year?
No, I mean, you got to be a little gun shy about the whole thing.
But up 5, somebody up to start the inning.
Yeah. I mean, he's thrown 3 pitches. 4 pitches, I'm sorry, and now.
And all of this, again, may revolve around if Posey gets up. Posey's due up 5th in the inning.
And that's the frustrating thing with Jim Johnson. Yeah, and that's what you get. But, you know, with Jim Johnson, even though they didn't score, granted, it's still 5 runs, but you give the better hitters a chance to come up the next inning.
Pence would be due up 6th here in the inning. 5-run lead. Base hit. And Duffy with a single to start the inning. And another pinch hitter coming up. Andrew Susac is the batter. Susac has been a real pleasant surprise for the Giants since he's come up this year. He is a catcher, and he has done a nice job defensively and offensively. He's allowed Buster Posey to play some first base at times, and Posey's hit like crazy when he's been at first. But Susac's really made an impression on the Giants. Ball 1. Was called up to the big leagues on July the 26th, taking the roster spot of Hector Sanchez, who had been San Francisco's backup catcher. He has suffered some concussions and is done for the season. Guy behind the plate for the Tigers, Alex Avila, knows a thing or two about that. He seems to get whacked more than just about anybody. He was hit hard by a couple of foul tips on Tuesday, and this is his first time back in the starting lineup since.
Yeah, Brad Osmus said next spring they're going to try to convince him to get lower because he sits up so high. You see how high he's straight back. He sits up, and that could be why he's getting hit with so many foul tips. And he's so close to the hitter that he gets, you know, on the backswing, he gets hit in the back of the head a lot.
That's the second one. The first one hit him a few innings earlier. That was in the 6th inning on Tuesday. They gave him some brief tests out of the mound and then decided not to play him. And he had headaches for a couple of days, and Brad Osmus said they wanted him to have 24 hours of without any symptoms at all before they put him back in there.
You see how close he is to the hitter and he even moves up.
Here comes Kelly. Can't make the play.
I mean, I'm not a catcher, but it looks like he's really close there. And then when the pitcher goes in his set and windup, Phil Koch, he moves up even closer.
2-2. Leadoff hitter Angel Pagan is on deck. Joe Panik after him, and then Posey, Pence, Sandoval. And the count is full. Ball 4, and the first two men have reached for the Giants here in the 9th inning, and Jeff Jones is headed to the mound yet again. Sports Center will follow the ballgame tonight here on ESPN. And among the stories that will be covered, Peyton Manning seeks revenge, and Clayton Kershaw ejected from the game today. And also, Crucky, 35 years ago today, ESPN launched. We saw a little footage this morning in our meeting of the first ever Sports Center. Some pretty groovy music, too.
Groovy music,
back in 1979.
Yeah.
So
I remember those days well.
Yeah, you won't want to miss that.
Australian rules football, became a big fan of that. The guys in the white outfits doing the, I don't know what it's called, whatever those things are called, that they score or whatever, kick it through a post. I don't know what they do. But it was interesting. It might have been the first year we had cable in where I grew up. So that's why we got it. 78, maybe, 79, maybe, I think. Yeah.
Don't miss it. Back to the top of the order for Angel Pagan. And Brad Ausmus sticking with Koch. Pagan's a switch hitter. Panik on deck as a left hitter. So Koch might get this batter with the next batter.
If he walks him, he won't. They must move home plate sometimes.
This has been a major issue for the Tigers all season. Closing out games. In general, the work of the bullpen. Ground ball to third. There's one. There's two. I think they had a shot. Now, Kelly wasn't right on the bag, but he was close to it.
I think one of those that they're assuming because it was Pagan running that maybe they didn't have a chance, but I mean, what the heck? It's a triple play. Take a shot. If you throw it up in the seats, who cares? Here it is. I mean, it's perfect right here. One step for Castellanos to step on third. Throw to Kinsler. Kinsler, all he cared about, catching it with one hand, getting off the base. All he thought was, get this out, we get 2 outs. I don't think there was even a thought of going for a triple play.
There's Panik. Panik's 1 for 4. Posey's on deck. The Giants now down to their final out. Kinsler's got it. Tigers win it. Wasn't pretty at times, but they get it done. Get the outs they need to one way or the other. And the Tigers take the final game of the series 6-1. Keep pace with Kansas City. Pick up a game on Seattle. The Giants lose a little ground, lose a game in the standings to the Dodgers, with all kinds of meaningful games coming for these two teams over the next 3 weeks. Again, the final from Comerica Park, the Tigers 6 and the Giants 1. You can catch up on all the latest baseball news tomorrow night with a Baseball Tonight at 10:30 Pacific time. Don't forget about a doubleheader coming your way Wednesday night here on ESPN. It begins at 7 p.m. with the Royals here in Detroit. Then at 10 p.m. the Diamondbacks are in San Francisco. Sports Center is next here on ESPN. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For John Kruk, Buster Olney, and our entire Sunday night crew, I'm Dan Schulman saying so long from Detroit.